Sports Cars Live.
Hey, what's going on, FD? Good to be here.
I'm going to drop a couple bombs on the FD channel right now.
Who you rolling with?
I am rolling with FD.
I'm rolling with FD.
We are rolling with FD.
Because I'm Carlos on What's the Play. Thank you, sir. Hey, Nick, you got to let me know who you rolling with.
I'm rolling with FD.
Hey, Tony and Oz, who you rolling with? Then y'all.
Oh, you know we rolling with FD, baby.
Hey, Renee, who you rolling with?
Rolling with FD.
We're going to bring in Justin.
Hey, FD.
How you doing, bro?
I'm well.
Who you
I'm
rolling
rolling with FD.
So go, Bird.
I'm rolling with FD.
You got to let people know who you rolling with.
I'm rolling with FD.
You got to let the people know who you rolling with.
Well, obviously I'm rolling with FD.
We got you on the line.
You guys are, oh my goodness, we're both on the line.
Yes, sir. Hey, Mike.
What's the deal? What's the deal?
Love what you collect.
Hello.
Wait, I have that same card.
Oh, let's get a picture of this together. See, Bless, who you rolling with?
I'm rolling with FD.
I'm rolling with FD.
That's how you just rolling, right? That's the whole thing, right? You roll with it.
You gotta let me know who you rolling with.
We're rolling with FD. You heard it first.
I'm not just a pretty face, Ziggy. Amen.
Rolling with FD.
Hey, what's up, y'all? It's March 13th, Monday, 6:04 p.m. I think last night, if you were with JD and I, you knew that my green screen was not active at all. I couldn't put a background on. Tonight, I put a background on. You can't even see me. But we're still getting after this. And I'm excited for the guests that we have on. We're going to dig in and learn some more stuff about him. JD and I had him on What's the Flavor, but now he's on What's the Play. I'd like to bring in the Reverend. How you doing, sir?
I'm good. How about yourself? Rolling with FD.
It's good to have you here. Good to have you. I wanted to have you on this show for quite a while. It's good to have you here.
Hey, I'm glad to be a part of the community. Glad to be a part of your move. I think it's great. I tune in on Sundays just to kind of hang out with you and JD and watch many of your other guests talk about the hobby. Something that we love, frustrate us sometimes, but overall, it's so enjoyable.
It is. So now let's just dive right into the middle of the swimming pool. Let's talk about this past weekend. You went to the Dallas Car Show. I have never been there. I've never had the opportunity to go. That's something I aspire to do. Tell us about your perception of the show. How did you enjoy yourself? What did you see? Walk us through it.
Well, first of all, it's just an amazing show. Of course, it happens on a regular basis every couple of months. Mm-hmm. And I began going probably in 21. Went to my first one. And of course, the hobby was booming. And it was pretty much, if you were trying to move some stuff, if you were trying to find some stuff, you were going to find that. This time it was busy. But depending on what room you were in, it was either just steady or shoulder to shoulder, because the Dallas show is held at the Allen Convention Center, and many people fly in, of course, stay there at the hotel. Well, when you walk in, you have the corridor, and there were people on the corridor that I had never seen before. SGC was there. Taking on-site submission. I'll talk a little bit about that later on. Arena was there. They were signing autographs up and down. So once you paid your money, it was $15. My son and I kind of went together. And previously, the Beckett grading service had been in the main hall in the back. Just a couple of tables back there in the corner. Well, as soon as you pay to the right, Beckett was right there. I mean, they had pretty much a room that normally would hold probably about 40 tables was totally Beckett. And they were taking on-site grade, and the line was steady. When I say steady, I mean, my son and I came in. We got there on Saturday about 10, right when it opened. And the line, there's probably about 6 or 7 people in line, and we were getting ready to go on to the main floor. And I said, we got to go ahead and and go in here because I had 3 cards that I wanted to drop off, which we're excited about. Has nothing to do with sports cards. And so we went on stood in line, talked to some people. There was consistency. They were taking grading from on-site next day if you were dropping it off to get it later. And so when we got in line, we looked behind us once we got to the table, and the line was out the door. When we came out, it was around the corner. So Beckett was loaded. So once we got finished with that, I said to my son, I said, hey, I have these red PMGs. I want to bring them over to SGC because I like the black insert and the red PMG. I know they call it the tux, but we'll get back to that later. But so we went over there. I was already in the systems, got everything situated. And when we walked into the main room, that's when I was doing the lives on IG to show everybody. I mean, there were people everywhere. And really, it was a mixture. I think we talked about the fact that was the first time I'd seen the number of female dealers. There were a lot of tables in the main room that had female dealers. Of course, I made my way to talk to Miss Sport Card, Anna, because of the situation that happened to them in Tampa when the guy broke into their business and stole some stuff. So I wanted to go in and talk with her, and I talked to her. I'm nothing about soccer, but she's good for the hobby. Many of the other, I think I've seen Mama Breaks on here, and some of the others I haven't gotten a chance to meet. And so just up and down, I saw some of the guys. I bumped into Roth, Josh. I bumped into Taxi, bumped into Mojo's. Had a long, probably about a 15, 20-minute conversation with Merlin. And it was interesting because I think Merlin just thought I was into hockey. And I started talking about all these other things. So that show, we went all the way around, and every table was just steady. People were there. And I think that's the challenge for the Dallas show. I've never been to Nationals. I'm more than sure it's the same challenge. I'm more than sure it was a challenge in Burbank. You can't really get to the table. So you're looking over people's shoulder trying to see the display. And, you know, I don't know how dealers can deal with that, but pricing, you go to some tables, they have gotten their prices more in line. But, you know, when you go to a table of a card you're looking for, because I was looking for Kirill Kaprizov, who is my PC for hockey. And, you know, you go, you see a card, and I know the comps on these. I know the comps on Kirill.
I know how you get down, Reverend. Yeah.
And so when you walk up to the table and you see the comp that I know and he's double that price, I'm not even going to talk to him. I mean, it does me no good to spend that time talking about a card that I know I can't get him down to the comp. I think the card had been comping regularly around 300. He had 600 on it. I mean, you can't. There's really nothing you can do with that. I saw that a few times, but overall, I think the dealers have began to understand this is not 2021, 22. So we walked the floor, got all of those things taking place, and then we went to the next room. So there are a couple of hallways that you can walk down to go into the main room, and each one of them had tables. So probably those side rooms probably had 40 tables in each, and I looked in there and it was so packed you couldn't move around. And so I just peeked, and I saw a couple of guys I knew, and we talked a little while. And so then my son and I walked to the other end of the hotel where the other, I guess you would say, the other big main room. And as soon as I walked in there, I was like, oh my goodness, there were people. And I know why that was, because that room probably had 60 to 70% Pokemon.
Okay.
I mean, there was a whole wall of Pokemon. And I tell you what was cool though. I talked to a dealer who was from Frisco, which is close to the Allen, and it was he and his son was set up. And then I began talking to a couple other guys who were there. It was him and his son. and then my son and I were there. So we all shared about the hobby, how the hobby has changed. They asked me what I was into. I told them a little bit about the hockey, and I said my son got me into Pokemon, and you know, the conversation. We were at a Pokemon booth, so the whole wall was just packed with Pokemon, and they were selling. I mean, it seemed to me, FD, that the Pokemon movement is probably going to pop quicker than people realize, because those who grew up in my son's, as my son's 29, he grew up with Pokemon. Now he's gainfully employed like a lot of others. And so they're going back and they're going into the WotC era, and they're going back and they're starting to buy cards that they wanted way back when, that they didn't pull as kids. And so I think that's a great thing. But I saw a lot of little kids. I didn't see the number of influencers. I didn't see a lot of the content creators walking around with cameras. But again, there were three big shows going on at the same time. But it was very strong, very, very strong.
Yeah, I've always heard great things about the Dallas Card Show. What are we talking about? 750 tables total?
Yeah.
I've always heard wonderful things about the show. No, I will say I've been to some shows here where we've had that, where you're at the table and you're kind of looking over someone to see what you want to see. At the last Burbank show, the aisles were wide enough, and the amount of flow in the show, I never personally experienced that. But I have experienced that kind of vibe at other shows.
Okay.
It's interesting that you say you didn't see a lot of content people there, but like you're saying, when you get to something that big, though, it's almost like you're at an amusement park.
Yeah, it really is. Yeah.
If I would have saw you and I didn't say something, I'm probably not going to see you again.
Exactly.
And, make sure it was like that. It was like if you don't really see a person and say something to them, or if you see someone from afar and say, "Oh man, look, that's so and so over there," you may not ever see that person again.
Right. And you know what I
do you think?
Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Now, what I typically do, you know, when after I come from the show in Dallas, I'll go back and see who did content, to see what they were doing, to kind of catch up in areas. And I haven't seen, I'm not saying they won't drop later, but I do know some of the big names were there. I saw Hit Parade. They were doing a lot of business because they have those products. And so they were trying to purchase stuff to try to put in their different products. But overall, it was a steady flow. I talked to a couple of dealers. They pretty much stated the $100 to about $500 market is very, very strong. Once you get over that market, it's really, now you may be able to trade off and trade down off of some cards, but people were moving in that $100 to $500 range.
Now, since we've seen changes in the market, why do you think those are the price points that people are seeking out the most?
Well, I think it's a combination of there's a lot of cards out there, so people are focused now on cards they want. You know, when the hobby was booming, you had cards that were, you know, you take for instance, you know, I'm a Luka Doncic fan. His Prism base was 2K. I mean, you know, it was way up there. So a lot of people who wanted those cards couldn't afford them. So now they're trading in the $300 range, and people are now putting them in their collection. If you believe in the guy, I mean, that wouldn't be the one that I would have, you know, if I'm believing in him for long term. But those are the type of cards. And I think people have stopped just chasing the flip. They're being smarter about how I'm not saying people aren't flip, because we're going to talk about that a little bit later. But they're being smarter, and I think they're looking at cards that have the potential to go up in value in 1 to 2 years. And I think that is why that 100 to 500, I don't play in the immaculate area. I don't play in the flawless area. I really, that's not an area that I'm going to drop money on. But you have guys who are out there, they're looking for sealed flawless. Of course, they're going to try to flip it and everything, but I'm just not going to buy a card just for the sake of saying, hey, I may make $200 on this card.
No, and that concept, that would be flipping.
Yes. Yeah.
I don't think a lot of people think about I look at I've talked about this before, the life cycle of a card from when it first gets taken out of a pack to when if it's a pretty legendary player, a pretty good to great player, years from now. There are different points in that time span of the card where people are buying and selling. Buying and selling. It all depends on where you want to be at in the life cycle of the card. Right. Some people like to be early, flip that card, make a profit, move it on to someone else who wants to take it more later. I always go back to the 1952 Mantle. That card is worth a big amount now. At some point, that was a $500 card. Every card goes through $100,000, $500,000 card. People forget those days, but every card goes through that. And then if you look at on that life cycle, if a person has a card and they're buying and selling it on eBay, at some point it'll hit Heritage, Golden Auction, things like that. But at some point that card was on eBay. So eBay is like the opening auction house for most cards that go through, depending on the player and what's going on and what brand you're talking about. It probably got bought and sold on eBay at some point. This is why the hobby goes by eBay comps. Yeah. You may want to bring in a Heritage or something like that, but that's less frequent than what we're seeing every day that's happening on eBay.
So. And I think the thing that people forget, I know I'm not a whatnotter. I'm not into the small platforms, because if I'm going to move a card, for instance, I have one, you're going to like this one. I pulled this and I got it graded. You're going to like that. It's the Emerald DiVincenzo. And it's one of those cards that if I want to move it, I want to put it on a place that I have the most eyes, that people can basically run a search for that card and you're going to get millions of eyes, thousands of eyes on that card. Whereas if you're on a platform, you just have to have the right group of people at that particular time. I'm not saying that platform is not a good platform, but if you're overall looking to reach the masses, eBay, and I think that's one of the aspects. So yeah, eBay has some issues. That's, people say, well, it's going to cost you. Fees don't bother me. Fees don't bother me.
Reverend, I don't trip off fees.
Yeah.
It's cost doing business for me, but I know people. Maybe if I ran a business and I was doing transaction after transaction, that's something I would think about, because I can decrease that cost and get more profit. But it's going to work out.
Yeah. I mean, and that's, it goes back to the fact of what you're comfortable with. I have I pastor a congregation, have a family. I play golf. I don't have time to just be on a small platform. I need to be able to list a card and let it run. And whatever it is, it is. If I have to pay fees, I pay fees. But the great thing about my collection as it relates to going to card shows, I have a great advantage over many people who are walking the aisles, because I've been in this hobby since '89, and I have ripped packs after pack, through the years, and I packed away. Well, grading and all that wasn't a big deal back then. Well, now I'm going into boxes, finding cards that I pulled. So when I sit at the table, when I go to a table, I can actually take a profit that's going to be good, a win-win situation for me, as well as that dealer. Whereas a person who goes to a show at Burbank and buy a card for $1,000, and now they go to Dallas and they want to flip it, they're in their card for $1,000. So
going back to what we just talked about, you came in early in the life cycle of that card.
Correct.
Like I had the 2003 Topps Chrome LeBron James that I pulled in 2003. I wanted to move that card, got it graded, it came out of PSA 10. I just came across another one, talking about going through a box.
Okay.
It's probably an 8.5 maybe.
Okay.
But that 10, I wanted to move that. I got a lot of comments about that, but it's because I came in early in the life cycle. So I may have spent, this is back when boxes were probably $200-$300. instead of being
If
15.
that.
So, you come in early on stuff, and that's the philosophy I still take today.
Okay.
What is the life cycle of that card? Where am I at in that life cycle? And if I give myself more options with my dollars instead of locking it into something else that may or may not work out.
It's kind of like this card here. Of course, I'm a Luca guy. And this is, I love color match. It's out of 99. This card cost me $73. And I got it graded for, I think at that time it was $20. So I'm in this card for about $100. I mean, this probably is I don't know what the comp, I don't even look at the comp because I'm not even thinking about selling it. But I know it got up to one time $3K. I mean, it's one of those issues that most people who are in the hobby do not have a business mindset. They don't understand. I have a degree in economics, so I understand supply and demand. I understand that. And a lot of people don't have that business background to understand when to get in and when to get out of an investment. I mean, I look at it as an investment. If that's the way you're going to think, where you get into that investment is very important to when you get out of it. And then you have to be willing to get out. Rothbard has a saying that I always remember. He always said, "You never go broke taking a profit."
He does say that a lot. Yeah, it's true. It is true. And I've tried to challenge myself. And I'm not sitting here saying that I have all the answers. Like, I've tried to challenge myself to know when to get out of something. I really try to scrutinize what's going on now to know when to get out. And I think in this market, those kind of decisions can really win for you in the long term or the longer term if you really want to make them. Are you holding on to a car because it's part of your PC, because you really love it? That's one thing. To me, I put all that stuff to the side. Of the stuff that you're trying to make a profit on, you're trying to generate something with over time. What decisions are you making on that? So I really try to scrutinize things, especially when I really want something. And I challenge myself to use the funds or the valuation of what I have right now already before I try to bring more dollars into the situation.
Right.
That's So we got Tom here, says, "Good evening, friends and fellow cardboard enthusiasts, collectors, and connoisseurs. Good to have you here, Tom." Hero 3, what's up, guys? My last card adventure was me selling some MJ cards in his wizard uniform. I sold 12 cards and one PSA 9 MJ for $225. Not bad in a bear market. Not bad at all.
Not bad at all.
Who is everyone going for in NBA, MLB? And we're going to get to NBA. Might as well jump into it. What are you thinking about these playoffs that's coming up?
It's hard to, I want to say Denver going to come out the West, but man, history has shown that they just, they just have an issue when they get to the playoffs. And, until you beat the champ, that's what I always say, until you beat the champ, until somebody beats the Warriors in a 7-game series, you got to have them as a favorite. Yeah, they have some issues on the road and they have some other issues they're dealing with, but the Warriors, are probably going to be there at the end just because of the way they play. They know how to play playoff basketball in the West. And in the East, Giannis and the Bucks, they look very strong. I know people are talking about Embiid, but Philadelphia is just like Denver. They have all of the doing the season stats, but when it gets to the playoffs shortens your bench. And so when you start looking at the bench of the Warriors and you look at the bench, I think the Warriors gave up some things that's going to probably hurt them in the playoffs. Yeah, your rotation gets down to maybe 8 players. Mm-hmm. And there are a lot of teams that do not have 8 players that you really want in your rotation.
Sure. And this is why I say, and I said this last night, I think in a comment on Instagram, that the regular season is your preseason. Mm-hmm. There's 82 games of trial and error, 82 games of practice on TV. That's what the regular season is to me. Then when you get to the playoffs, it's like what you're talking about. That's why you always hear Kerr and other coaches talking about, well, I'm tweaking my rotation. I'm looking for something. They're trying to look for that group that's going to allow them to go to the playoffs. And they know I can depend on this person, and this person, and this person. When I get past my starting five to come in and bring this kind of energy, to bring these kind of rebounds, to bring this kind of defense. And if I can't find it, then we got a problem. So the 82 games is to lead up to that. When we get in, we shouldn't be fumbling all over ourselves. We should know what's going on and be very dependable. We get caught up sometimes as fans of the hobby of looking at the 82 games and thinking, oh, so-and-so is a great player. If you go to the playoffs and your scoring goes down, your turnovers go up, certain things about you get twisted, the light shine a little bit brighter in your face, then you're
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And you scrutinize. I mean, when you think about it, in the playoffs, you play a game, and then you have that media day. And when you have a bad day, the media is going to keep that going until you play another game. And there are a lot of people who are just not mentally tough enough to handle that. And I think that's one of the issues that I believe Ja has, as far as he's not mentally tough enough to handle it. So he got off, and I know we're going to talk about that a little bit later. But you have to be mentally strong. That's why Tiger was such a wonderful, because
his father built him that way.
Yeah, he was ready when the lights were the brightest. He performed his best.
It's almost like with Tiger, you're playing golf and there's nobody on the course.
Yeah.
If you think back to, remember in the Super Bowl, Cam Newton lost to the Denver Broncos.
Mm-hmm.
He comes out in the post-game press conference. People start asking him a bunch of questions about his performance. Why'd you do this? Why'd you throw the ball there? What? Cam got up and left.
Right. I remember that.
Never been the same Cam Newton after that.
Right. Exactly. You have to be able to face the music when things are not right. You have to face the music, and unfortunately, not everybody can do that.
And I say to people say, "Oh, they're making all this money. They should do that." But if we got up in the morning and we turned on the TV and we heard about our performance yesterday at work, we heard about how we dress, or the way our hair looks, or the music we were playing, or something that happened at a house, or what our review was for our job is posted all over the TV screen everywhere, most people will crumble.
Correct.
And I don't care how much money you're being paid. Most people will fold up. So it's not, this is what we're talking about. It's not easy stuff to do. But those who can master that and have literally frozen water in their veins when everything is going on around them, those are the people that we're really talking about over generations of time, because those are the real champions, and they push the sport forward, whatever sport it may be. They're just different. We're not talking about Pele because he ran around and played soccer. We're talking about what he did in the World Cup when things were on him and he had to take Brazil to another level. You can talk about Magic Johnson, Michael Jordan, Mike Tyson, Muhammad Ali. These are the people who made change in the sport. You know, Ali fought for him, and everybody says he's going to lose.
But if you think about it this year, what with the World Cup that just happened, Messi was really, I mean, he's a great player, but he never had performed at the World Cup like he did. I mean,
never had.
And it took him to another level. I mean, it took him to another level.
Yeah, people talking about GOAT. People say Messi now. It's a totally different ball game.
Exactly.
That's how it goes, people. So this is why I get into these conversations with folks, and they'll say, "Oh, you don't think so-and-so's a good player?" I always come back with, "Let me see what's up in the playoffs." You can be, you've taken steps. Maybe you're all-star. Maybe now you're all-star starter. Those are steps to let me know you're progressing your career. But we talk about Jason Tatum, and I even have some Tatum cards. I got to see Tatum with you. You can't go back and shoot 30% in a series and still talking about good to great to the legendary status. That's not how this thing goes. Now, another part of this question was MLB. To me, baseball, 162 games is so long. It's so hard for me to make a prediction on what team I'm with. I cheer for the Cubs and the White Sox. I don't. I can't. I couldn't intelligently Hero 3 answer that question.
I can't. I mean, I just don't follow baseball. Baseball for me is all about prospecting. It's all about minor league players, trying to get them, trying to figure out who's going to pop real quick. I believe baseball, more than any of the other sports, is get in and get out and move on. Because if you think about it, I was just listening to a YouTube video, I think, and they were talking about Jason Dominguez. I mean, he's putting up some numbers in spring training. I mean, and his prices, I think they said his base Bowman Chrome first was like 1.4K, and it peaked out at 2K back when it first came up. But it's the preseason. Yeah. I mean, it always.
The guy who batted 240.
Yeah. It after the season, because what people forget is the pitchers are trying to accomplish something. So they have so they may throw 15 straight curveballs or sliders because they're trying to get that pitch.
They're working on something.
Yeah. And so you see that pitch and you just tee off on it. But then when the season starts, they have that pitch, they have the fastball, they have the changeup. I mean, you don't really know. So now that's why I know people talk a lot about Barry Bonds and about the steroids and all of those things. But when he came to the plate, the pitchers were afraid of him.
Yeah, they were. He could read right on the ball. Yeah, they were. But you know what you just said, a lot of people don't respect. I remember when I played sports, we didn't show everything in every game. There were certain games that we showed more, and we were trying to, we made put something new in practice. We want to see how it goes in the game, and it's real quick. And if you didn't pay attention on the film, you may not have seen it. I even sit here and watch Golden State games, and there's certain things that they run and certain things that they don't run. Or you will see them run a certain set for a quick second, and then they're moving on. Right. All this stuff, and I've seen the progression on that throughout the season. All this stuff is leading up to the playoffs. And they, like last year when Golden State played Denver, they ran a certain kind of defense that they never ran again in the playoffs.
Wow.
I mean, the way Draymond was on the Joker, they never ran anything like that.
Yeah, you look at football, for instance, the Super Bowl. Kansas City had picked up the fact that Philly overcommitted when it came down to their cornerbacks. Mm-hmm. They waited until the right time to run those two plays, and they ran it the same play on different sides and got the same results. That tells you they had that in the game plan, but they were going to use it at the exact time they needed, and that was when they needed it, and they never recovered from that. You know,
even Philly ran it out and up with A.J. Brown 2 times in a row, and got similar results. One was a touchdown, and one was a big game. These coaches and staff, they're looking at stuff to see, is this a trend? What is this corner doing? Especially if they're young. If you watch some games, you'll see them picking on the young corner.
Right.
And leaving that veteran just out there. You're just out there. We're going to pick on this guy. Or somebody who just came back off an injury. They're looking at all of this stuff to understand what kind of matchups do they have. Every sport does this. If people don't know that out there, please know.
Yeah. And that's what I think, you know, because we're sports fans, but we're in this hobby. And many people get so fixated on the hobby portion, they get upset that they cannot see the sports side. That they don't care. Burrow's not thinking about throwing for 400 went home.
Burrow doesn't care about your cars and the hobby. He doesn't care about your fantasy football team. He does not care.
You know, and that's what
these guys, they'll ask a question, and young ladies will ask the question, well, why are they signing off the sticker? Like, why is that player signing? They don't care about that sticker.
Yeah. You know, and people don't understand that, you know, yeah, it's a hobby, it's a business, they get paid. But when it's all said and done, they're on their job and they're trying to do the best they can for their job. If fantasy football is the same way. Why they pulled him? Why did they give the ball to somebody who doesn't have? No, he's not on anybody. That's wasted points. So
the only time you're going to see something if you have a legendary player that's up against a record, even LeBron just went out and hurt his foot trying to break Kareem's record.
Right, exactly.
So you'll see a coach make a way for something like that. But even Looney was up with almost a triple-double one night, and Kerr still pulled him. I think he had 15, 14, and 9, and Kerr said, your minutes are up for the night. We got this win. Good. You don't go out there. Now, this is what could happen, just like with LeBron, where you go out and you're trying to get that extra whatever, and that's when you tear something out for the season.
Yeah.
I remember our coach always tell us in football, when you come to practice and you're the only person going slow, that's the person that's going to get hurt.
Correct. If you go back to football, and I know we're old school, Jim Brown could have set records that wouldn't have been broken. Barry Sanders could have set records that wouldn't have been broken. They're like, okay, that's enough.
Michael Jordan in 96, 97, 98 didn't play a lot of fourth quarters.
Yeah. It wasn't about the records, and it was about winning. And at some point, players like, okay, I've accomplished everything I want to accomplish. And, I think that's the intriguing part, that when I start hearing people talk about who's the GOAT and all this, most of them don't have a reference for these unbelievable players that played this game way back. See, if the rules for football and the rules for basketball were the same as they were back when Too Tall Jones and Randy White and so on, Lester Hayes, you wouldn't be going across the middle.
No. No receivers going across unless you want to get clothesline.
Yeah, and so it's a softer game, and nobody wants to see anybody get hurt. But so it's hard to compare generations after generation. Probably of this generation, yes, that player may be the best player next generation. And so I try not to, for me, there are very few players that deserve the GOAT title. Okay. Very, very few. And of course, there's the whole MJ, LBJ, nobody's arguing about Tiger being, no
argument there.
Serena Williams, nobody's really arguing about that. And so in football, basketball, baseball, it's a little different. My wife right there.
No, it's all good. It's all good. Family first. It's all good.
Walking around in the kitchen to see about the basement.
I see her. She in her conversation. Huh?
Yeah, she's with her girlfriend talking on the telephone. So
that's all good. we all know that. That's all.
Yes, sir.
Well, no, like right here when you come in the door from the front of the garage.
But I think the one thing, one of the questions we talked about, one of the things that was on here, go back to the Dallas Car Show and grading. I had to learn the grading game because I didn't grow up in it, so I had to learn it. Yeah. And one of the things that people have done that they don't understand is you can actually make money with all of the grading companies, all of them. But you have to know what you're doing.
Yes.
So I actually grade with BGS, PSA, SGC, and CSG. The only ones I grade with. Now there are others that talk about tag and arena, and I don't know their standards and all of that. Mm-hmm. And so you have to know. So we know PSA is definitely the most liquid slab. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. Anybody who doubts that don't know grading. Yeah. It is the most liquid slab. It is used as the standard for all of the platforms. It's used as a standard by all the dealers pretty much. So when you have a PSA graded card, it is going to get you the best return on investment, because if you're flipping or if you're trying to level up, that is going to be the slab. So what I have learned is, because what people do is follow the trend instead of making the trend. So what a lot of times they follow what everybody else is doing. And I think that's one of the things when I go to card shows, I look in the cases to see what the dealers are carrying. And pretty much 80% of them have the exact same thing.
Same thing. I do the same thing. Yep.
It's hard to really find what you're looking for because you have to look through the same thing. And then when you have to figure out, okay, I think I saw this here, you can't remember because all the cases kind of look alike. So I use PSA pretty much. It is my grade to consignment. It is the one that I use my base to level up. But you still have to know which base to actually use. Most people who grade cards just grade random stuff. They never check the pop report.
That's right.
They never see how difficult it is to actually gem on the card. There are some sets that you may have a 25% gem rate. Yes, you may pull that card and you may send off, and then when it comes back at 8, you're upset. Well, PSA doesn't know what they know. You sent a card that has a 25% gem rate as a set. And
now that may be because of how it was printed.
Correct.
It have lines on it. How was it cut? Was it off center? Are we talking about 2020 Prism basketball?
Yes.
There's a bunch of factors that go in.
Yes. And most people only look at the card. They don't have the loops. They don't look under the light. And if you don't know how, you need to train yourself to do it. What I did is I actually used someone to help me do it. So when grading got very expensive, I couldn't be sending in. I needed to know that I'm getting a 10 or a 9 or a 10. So I allowed DCI to look at some things for me, and then I would all the stuff that was bad I didn't send in. But then I went back and looked at some, and some of those I've sent in later. It wound up being a 10. But I was only sending in cards that I felt were going to be 9 or 10s. Okay. I was not dealing in any of the products. Like, I will not grade. I'm a hockey guy. I will not grade 22, 23 Upper Deck Series 1 Young Guns because the gem rate is 25 to 35%. If you use $19, let's just say $20, you actually have to hit a couple if you send in 10 of them to actually break even. But it has a 25% gem rate. So the likelihood of you hitting, and I know what I'm doing. The last time I sent in a test run of 10 cards and 0 got a 10. And I thought half of them would get 10. So that let me know there is something with that set that makes it very difficult to get gem and 10. The flip side of that is if you get a 10, it's going to have a premium. Yeah, I mean, sure. It's going to have a premium. So you have to do that. So that's PSA. So how do you use the others? Well, I've used SGC because of the pop report. So if you go into the PSA area and you don't see that there are any cards graded. For instance, I told you I dropped off some cards at SGC in Dallas. I dropped off 3 red PMGs. PSA has a 0 pop on them. SGC has a 0 pop on them. CGC has a 0 pop on them. Beckett has a 0 pop. So no one has sent any of these in. And the player is Dawson Mercer, and he's hot in hockey. So whenever those cards come back, and PMGs, as you know, are very difficult to gem anyway. So if you get a 9,
just get them in the play.
You've done. And so I will be able to get out of those cards before more start hitting the pop reports, because I do know that once a PSA 9 hits, it's going to get more than a SGC 9. So you have to know how to do that. I did that with Otani. When Otani got hot, I had a lot of Topps Chrome update. I immediately I looked at the pop report. There was really no PSA graded. I sent them to SGC, got them back quick, was able to flip. I think I had 8 10s. I flipped them for $1,100. because there were no pops on it. If you know that, you can actually do it. But again, you have to go in it with the understanding that you got to move these quicker. I'm not knocking SGC, but you just don't move them as quickly when there's PSA cards out there. Beckett, I dropped off 3 cards at Beckett. And the reason I dropped them off is because my son and I are trying to get a black label.
Okay.
So we have 3. So 3 of the biggest cards of Pokemon right now is the Umbreon VMAX alternate art, the Rayquaza VMAX alternate art, and the Giratina Gold out of Crown Zenith. He pulled the Umbreon VMAX. I pulled the other 2. So we're sending them in. And we know how hard it is to get black labels. We understand that. Mm-hmm. But the black label Umbreon just sold for $12.5K. Mm-hmm. So you got to try. Yeah. You got to try. And so, it's when you do that thicker cards, BGS, I like the grading, the sub grades, because it kind of shows you. It shows you some of the areas where, okay, I would have missed that. And so I think the subgrades help there. All my PC for Kirill Kaprizov is in CSG cases because I think they're some of the clearest cases. This is one of my, when you start looking at that card pops, I also like it's got the black and gold, and this is a gold refractor. It just looks good. Sometimes it's just the look of the card. So you really have to know what you are doing, and you have to. It's going to be some trial and error. But if you use the pot report to your advantage, that if you go into a pot report and you see there's 19,000 PSA Zion, that's not a card that you really need to send. This is how I view grading. What will I grade? If I can find it easy, it's probably not something I want to grade.
I agree. Or if you walk a table, like you said at a show, and you see it everywhere. I don't know. Unless it's part of something that you want a slab to keep for a PC. Mm-hmm. We're not talking about those cards.
Correct.
I think you do whatever you want to with those cards. Correct. We're talking about cards that you're trying to make moves on from a grading perspective to make other moves later in the future.
Correct.
All right, we got Car Vibe here. I'm gonna catch up some comments.
All right,
people in here. What's up, Car fam? We rolling Car Vibe. Thank you for being here. Feed the gods. You always love. Feed the gods. Let us know if you're gonna be at Delmar in 2 weeks. Let us know if you're gonna be there. Love to catch up with you. Car Vibe. I feel like I get the best deals at Dallas Car Show. Haven't done Burbank yet though. I've heard good things. I think it's all about, like the Reverend just talked about. Who are you talking to when you're there, and what cars are you interested in, and a lot of factors. Feed the Car Vibe. What's up, brother? Hero 3. Michael Thomas, salute to you too. Sad to hear my beloved 49ers lost Jimmy Ward to the Texans. There are some moves being made in the NFL. Some real moves. Car Vibe Hero 3, good to see you in the chat.
The Texans. Yeah. We're not going to
what makes you a Texans fan, not a Cowboys fan?
Well, actually, I was a Houston Oilers fan. I grew up in Port Arthur, Texas, and basically, the Oilers, the Love You Blue, Earl Campbell. So I just.
If you say Houston Oilers, I completely understand.
Yeah.
Understood. Car Vibe Hero 3. I'm a big Duncan guy, so I've been picking up Chrome Refractors. Chrome Refractors of Duncan are great cards to pick up. Of all his playing years, I believe Timmy and Topps Chrome are great players. So do I. Some people don't like Tim Duncan. That's what I do. It's a trip. Gabe, what up, FD? How you doing today? I'm doing very well, Gabe. That's what I'm saying. I have that same card. It's a great card. You're not like that. I don't know. Timmy is a good play. I believe so. FD, do you think Lonzo playing days are over? I'm leaning towards that. Or do you think he would be like Penny and G here? I'm leaning towards it's over. It's a shame that he was becoming a very good spot-up shooter. I was saying at one point last season that he was probably going to have a better career. Yeah, no problem. He was going to have a better career than LaMelo. The question is, where's LaMelo going? how is his career progressing? But I wish the best for Lonzo. I want to see him back. JD the Collector. What's up, man? Thank you, sir. Thank you for being here. Thank you for that goat emoji. Appreciate you. April, you Steph? April, what about Steph? What's going on with Steph? Steph plays tonight here in a little bit. There's a minute 40 left in the Dallas Memphis Grizzlies game. Dallas is getting destroyed right now by 19. But soon we'll see the greatest of all time hit the court. Feed the gods. Doesn't matter on any sport. There should be two conversations. Who is the best in any specific era? And which era do you prefer? Anything outside of that, I personally think is BS. With that said, feed the gods. I still say Michael Jordan is the GOAT. Other than Mike, I'm with you. I'm riding with you. Gabe, what up, FD? How you doing today? I'm doing very well. Gabe, it's always good to have you here. Even
well, you like this card?
Oh yeah, that's little 3D action. Yeah. Oh yeah. Big John's in the house. What's up, fam? What's up, Big John? Peep says, speaking on grading and process, I've noticed that quality control has suffered greatly in the past few years that the car companies are rushing product. Could be.
And that's why you have to learn how to, because like 23 tops or 22 chrome, it was terrible to grade. I mean, and I think 23, the rushing factor is because, and I was listening to someone talk about this, there's only a limited number of companies that actually print cards. And so when you are actually a company that like Upper Deck, they're all competing for the same people to print their cards, and you have a certain amount of time to do it. So you have that time frame, and that's why you have a backlog of stuff. I mean, I'm hockey guy, and we're just releasing 21, 22 products. I mean, it is, and so you're rushing, and the quality control is not there. The collectors want the cards out there. The companies are trying to make their money. It's a challenge when it comes down to it. But there's some stuff that's coming out now that, I mean, people who think you can open a pack and you're going to automatically get a Gem Mint card, you're sadly mistaken.
No, I don't see it. 100% agree with the Reverend. Pete says. You're talking about PMGs. Even the APMG is very good. You got a PMG, get it slapped.
Yes. No doubt about it.
Get that thing taken care of. There are 7s out here that are amazing. Dave G, what up? What's up, Dave G? Dave G, did you change your picture there? I see the cash. I see the cars. I hear you. Imani, what's up? It's good to have you here. Rolling. Always appreciate you, man. Feed the guys. Oh, Reverend, Imani was at Dallas.
Really?
Imani is out of Alabama. I would love for y'all to meet each other one day.
Have to do that.
Yeah, if he's coming back to the area, I'd like to introduce you. I thought about this late on Sunday. I'd like for y'all to hook up, but he's a good person to me. Feed the guys. I would be at Del Mar, but at the Pachanga show in July. I'll only be going on that Saturday only. I think I'm only going on the Saturday of the show that's coming up. I'll be there July 14th. I think I'm going. What is the Saturday? The 26th? I think I'm 25th or 26th. 25th. I think I'm going to be there then. Garoppolo to the Raiders as a fan, just painful. This is a question I have on this, and I asked myself this today. If you get rid of Derek Carr, did you improve yourself by bringing in Garoppolo?
Right.
I mean, they're very similar players.
Very, very similar.
How they throw the ball, how they move around, the decision making under pressure. Very similar. I don't know. I didn't get into the financial part of the move, but just looking at players, I don't know. Oh, Junior wrote Steph. Yeah, Junior wants to give a shout out to Steph Curry. Let me go back here. My son Junior wants to talk about Steph.
I actually don't own a Steph Curry rookie.
Oh.
And that was because, again, Topps. I had a Topps rookie. It was a PSA 9, and I moved it for 19 to actually pick up a PC card.
Okay.
And so, you like we talked about earlier, you got to know when to move. If I want a Steph Curry rookie, I could probably go to any show.
Oh, you could. Yeah, Rev.
I mean,
you could.
The card.
Now, I can tell you my story. So I don't have a Steph Curry rookie because in 2009, I tell this story a lot. I was moving.
Okay.
I moved from one part of California to another part of California. And then when I got there, I jumped straight into working a lot. So my viewing of basketball went down. I knew who Steph was in the NCAA tournament coming out, going to Golden State. So I was watching, but I wasn't buying cars.
Right.
So, and it's the same way when Tim Duncan came out. There are certain players. It's almost similar to when Kobe came out. When Kobe came out, I was still in college. And I looked at Kobe like, we were only a few years apart in age. I think 3 years apart. So I think I was a junior in college when he came out. So there were things going on when these players came out. That's why I tell people when you if you move away from the hobby, you come back in your lifetime, it's probably going to happen. So, but that's why I didn't have any staff until I started looking around doing some research. I'm like, man, this dude got 3 rings. His car's a price. I said, what? What? And I started moving some LeBron to buy, and people were like, man, you're crazy. I'm like, okay.
Yeah. But the card you did, hey, great play.
Great, bro. When I saw that on eBay, man, I was running through this house like, oh, hold up. This thing ends on this day. I got to be here an hour before. I'm in front of my phone. I'm on this. April knows. She was like, what makes this car so big? I said, April, this thing is completely undervalued.
Yeah.
It's only a Pop 16. It's very hard to grade. But
see, so I know I'm into hockey, and one of the things that people don't realize is that what hockey has that helps it is Upper Deck EPAC system.
Mm-hmm.
The EPAC system has the ability to upgrade cards. You trade in cards to get a better card. And the interesting thing about that is ComC is where I buy a lot of my cards. You asked that question. I buy a lot off of ComC. And I'm usually ahead of the game. Like for hockey, I was buying stuff for $3. And what I did was I bought a certain number of them and sent them all in because I wanted to see how hard or difficult it is to grade that card, whether I wanted to go back in and grab some more. And once I learned how to do that, I actually improved my odds. And now I'm holding cards for hockey that, Mason McTavish, he's going to be a young player. I have 5 PSA 10s of him because I knew what card to get and I knew how easy he had an 85% gem rate on. And so I knew I was going to be able to get some PSA 10s. I rarely, and it's sad to say this, because so many people grade, it's very difficult to go to shows and LCSs and buy raw cards.
You got to scrutinize.
Yeah, because especially if I go now, I have bought from my local and I got a PSA 10 from a Hoops rookie of Luka, but a lot of people who grade, they look through their cards and they're sending the best gems. So you 100% true, but typically you're looking at, especially if it's a heavy grader, what they don't think will gem.
That's right. Unless you come up to a table where you don't see anything graded on this table.
Correct.
Now, if you walk up on that, press pause.
Yes.
And
PSA on eBay too. eBay too. So
eBay as well.
When I look at a card and I want to buy it and I think I'm going to grade it, I will actually look at everything else this guy is listed to see whether or not he has graded cards. And if he does not have graded cards, the likelihood is he's not in the grading. It's probably not cherry picked. And I've gotten a lot of great deals that wound up being PSA 10s because of that.
And then don't be afraid to ask for additional pictures. And
Correct.
They may have Russian. They may have taken only some pictures they thought looked good. If you actually get out of that penny sleeve and that top load, and I want every angle, every corner, I want bag, I want light bouncing. I've asked for all that. The people who are reluctant, I move on. The people who are straight up, and some people will tell you even more, hey, that right corner, something's not right. If I get those pictures back and those pictures are pristine, I've gotten a lot of PSA 10s out of that.
Yep. Yep. You just got to
Yeah.
know what you're doing. You just can't. I'm not a. Oh, that's the other thing in Dallas. The value boxes were lit. I mean, people were.
They were the same way at Burbank.
Gosh, they were packed into the value. I mean, that's not a part of what I do, but they were packed into the value boxes, and people are finding great deals. You can find some nice cards in value boxes. It's also a way for dealers to move inventory. I mean, because you come to a show, it may cost you $1,000 to set up or more when you start thinking about how much you have to put out. And that's one of the reasons why I'm very mindful when I go to shows that I'm hopeful to get 80%, but usually I'm going to get, if I move a card, it's going to probably be a 70% comp. And I understand that, but usually I'm not in it to the point where I'm going to make money. If I'm moving something at 70% comps, I'm actually making money on the card.
Yeah. Yeah, and the phrase we use is a few of us out here when we talk to each other, we say, get rid of something that you don't want for something that you really do.
Bingo.
So we're talking about you make money, but then even on top of that, the joy of what's in if it's your PC or maybe even a flip that you think you can make profit on, or something you're going to hold for probably 6 months to a year, whatever it may be. It's just, I mean, it just makes me feel better that way. Like when I walked into the Burbank show and I had that LaMelo Ball PSA 10 out of 10, and somebody had a Steph Curry autograph. My man LeBron James. I mean, you know how I get down with Steph Curry.
Yeah. And Wiseman.
That's right. Wiseman. We ain't got on Wiseman yet. Yeah. I mean, speaking of Wiseman, I haven't looked in a while. Let's look at some stats from the night. Detroit won 117-97 versus Indiana. Indiana didn't have Mathurin. I think he's got an injury.
Okay.
There was some people he did not have. Wiseman had a good night. You want to hear these stats? Wiseman played 24 minutes, 8 of 15 shooting, 0 for 1 from the 3, 14 rebounds, 1 assist, 18 points.
That's good numbers.
This young man is 21 years old. So take it for what it is. I'm gonna tell you this. Reverend. I told JD this once. My father, I was telling my mom this the other day. We were talking about Wiseman. And she was we were talking about me being so hyped on him. My father sat me down when I was young and really taught me what to look for. If you're talking about a football player, and then I played football, but early he taught me about wide receivers, quarterbacks, corners, defensive linemen, just different things you're looking for in that. What does that player really do? Tone out. And I used to watch games, even in college, I used to watch opponents. I put the TV on mute. I'm not even listening to what the commentators are talking about. What am I focusing on? And when you watch basketball, the name of the game to me is consistency.
Mm-hmm.
You could come out one night and have 50. Bravo. Did you come out the next night and have 10? It's hard for me to get into what this player is talking about. You start looking at the greats like a Steph and a Kobe and a Mike Jordan and back when I was younger, Larry Bird and even James Worthy, Magic Johnson. These players were consistent. They're coming out in an 82-game season and getting after it. We're talking about preseason. They are getting after things to set the tone or finding a way to motivate themselves. So when I look at a kid like Wiseman or some of these other guys, I love De'Aaron Fox. I can talk about a bunch of folks. I love Maxey. I've been paying more attention to Halliburton. These are players that can bring something. They're learning to bring something to the table every single night. They learn the ways to motivate themselves every single night. People will say, well, why did Michael Jordan make up stuff? Man, I played football. I used to make up stuff about the lineman across from me.
Mm-hmm.
I used to say to in my head, this person just said something about my mom or said something about my family, Reverend. That's how I'm getting amped up for this game. When I come out the locker room, I'm ready to go. So, I mean, whatever motivates you, believe me, if you play 82 games every night, you probably ain't feeling it until you make yourself feel it.
Do you remember Harold Miner, the time he lit up Michael Jordan one game and was talking. And I think Mike took it personal because every time they played, Mike would make sure. And the worst part is, I think one of Hermanos rookie cards, I think it's Flair Ultra, actually has a shot from that game where he's shooting the ball over Michael Jordan.
No,
Yeah.
I had that. I had several of that card. All those cards are overproduced, but I had many of those cards.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing with OJ Mayo. So I first moved to LA. I go down to USC. They had just built the Galen Center. It looked real nice. Like if you ever go to a USC game, they don't have a great team, but the stadium is amazing. So we go in there and we sit down with a cousin at the time, and we're watching OJ Mayo. And I look at him. I'm looking through all this hype, man. People are talking about OJ, what he's about to do. I look at him like, this guy's not going to rip up the NBA. No, he barely had like 15 points in that game. No, this is not happening. There's just a certain energy level, which is how you got to bring it and what's your attitude. It's like the other day, Wiseman again is 21. I saw him hit a shot 2 nights ago and come down and bang his chest as he's going down the court. Now, I've never seen that from him, but I need to see that from him.
Yeah. It's interesting. You had a question that you we were talking about, and many will not like hearing what I'm about to say. You asked about who will bring the NBA into the next 10 years.
Oh yeah.
And I'm gonna tell you, I did not write a single American-born player down on the list.
Okay, all right. That's why I wanted to ask.
And the reason for that is what the American style of basketball, the players are chunkers and dunkers.
Splash in the pan.
That's all. But these guys who come from overseas, they are well-rounded. They play defense. They play offense. They know they understand the game. And so you look at players like Giannis, and you look at Luka, and you look at Joker, and you look at Embiid. All of these players, even if you go back, Tim Duncan. I mean, people forget a lot of these players. Duncan stayed in college for 4 years so that he could be developed once he got to the NBA. And these young cats, it's about ESPN. It's about highlight. That's why the Warriors keep winning, because they are a team that understands the game. They understand, Draymond is not one of the best players in the NBA, but he understands his role and he does his role very
well. He said he realized the only way to stay in the NBA is to have a role and really get that role done. So he knows what he's doing with Golden State. I remember a game, you're talking about Tim Duncan, Wake Forest, which is really not known for basketball a lot before Tim Duncan got there. Not really known for basketball right now as we sit here and talk. Randolph Childress was his.
I remember him. Yes, I remember.
Randolph Childress. Everybody out there who don't know, go ahead and get your Google keys. Hit up Randolph Childress. He was a very good college point guard.
Correct.
Very sound, nice jump shot. Could feed the post. He was the one that was getting Tim the ball and letting them show his stuff. Tim is like a sophomore. And Randolph wanted him to run a certain play, and he ran a different play. Randolph Childress, when they called the timeout, was walking to the bench, stopped Tim, and chewed him out on the middle of the court. And Tim listened to that. You could see him listen. Took it to the. You could see Pop would chew Tim out in a game.
Yes.
Tim would listen to that, take it to the bench, and keep it going. And this is why Pop could coach Tim Duncan, and he couldn't coach Steven Jackson. Because Steven Jackson was not about. He's not going to have that. He's not about that thing at all.
Nah.
He's going to let you know about it. So these are the things that you look at in a player. We talk about the maturation. This is why I asked a question the other day on Instagram about these coaches retiring. Boeheim just retired. Coach K retired. These coaches now are one and done with a Neil on top of it. How do you manage that? How do you coach that?
Yeah.
Compared to coaches in the past had a guy who could be a star growing for 3 or 4 years, and then they went to the NBA. This is why I think the cycle of good to great is going to be different now. It's going to be about guys who hit the NBA and still develop themselves because they really got limited coaching before that. How do they get better? And you're going to see guys 22, 23, 24 years old still getting better because they didn't get that coaching from 18 to 21.
Right.
And that's going to be the new cycle of the NBA. If we're looking for people to be that splash in the pan, then to be great, more power to you. And I always say this, JD and I always say, if it was only that simple, Only LeBron has come out of high school. Only LeBron James, and scored 20 points a game from high school until now.
Yeah.
Only been LeBron James. Kobe struggled.
Yes. And he was not liked. I mean, I remember the All-Star game when the mailman looked at. I mean, we have our views about. I remember that All-Star game, and all the players were like, "What is this kid trying to do?" I mean, he was actually trying to play basketball, and they were like, "You need to understand this All-Star game. We don't."
No, man, it's All-Star game. Kobe's coming down, trying to D up all in people's face. Like, what are you doing, man? We got here to put on the show, homie. What are you doing?
Yes.
Kobe's playing ball.
Yes.
That's why the All-Star game we just watched. If Kobe Bryant was here to see that, you'd have heard about it.
Right.
For sure, you would have heard about that.
I think the last really good All-Star game I watched was the first year that they made the MVP. Kobe, I think it was nice. The players wanted that trophy.
Yeah.
They
Leonard won that.
Yeah. They wanted that trophy for their trophy case because that's the first one. Now after that, it's not a big deal. But I think they're going to have to do something with the All-Star game because it's really, I mean, football has they might as well cancel theirs. I mean, it's flag football now. But it goes back to the money, and I want to retrace something you said about Young. I'm concerned about the NIL system when it comes down to paying players as college athletes. I'm not saying they don't deserve to have some type of compensation. They're using their images. But if you sign, take for instance, Bronny, if he signs one of these crazy, I mean, why do you really need to start improving? I mean,
well, that's going to be the thing, Reverend.
Yeah,
that's going to take a lot of people from good to great, and they might stop, or they might just be good, and they might stop. The legendary players, if it's not an intrinsic fact, you look at Steph. Why does Steph need to do what he's doing right now? Why do you need to come out the other night and score 26 at the end of the fourth and then overtime?
Mm-hmm.
He wants that. It's in here. He wants that. And that's what's made him who he is. He was a guy who's undersized, came from, small school. Other schools didn't want him. His brother went to Duke. He's better than his brother.
Right.
It's the intrinsic factor is what I'm talking about. So if that doesn't motivate you, and now these guys and girls are getting paid early, like Dennis Rodman's daughter plays soccer, signed a huge NIL deal.
Some kid just signed a contract with Jordan for with LeBron, high school young lady. She just signed a sneaker deal. I mean, so I'm not knocking these kids for taking advantage of the opportunity, but it also prevents you. I look at my career, your career. We got better as we kept going. We learned the trade. We learned our craft. We became better. And so winning sales awards 8 times when on average somebody may win it once or twice. Mm-hmm. It's once you learn that. And once you get it down, you know what it takes to do it. Where that's people who don't, if you've never won anything, you don't really know what it takes to actually win. No. I mean, it doesn't matter whether you're sports or whether you're talking about your career. If you aren't willing to put in the work to understand how your industry works. As you know, JD, I retired for 2 years. My company asked me to come back. And so that tells you something. Yeah. You know something about how the job works. And, it's a wonderful situation. But I think that's going to be problematic going forward when you're making these contracts, you're making this good money. Because now, and I think this is the situation with Ja.
Let's talk about Ja.
His dad has stopped being his father and has become his fan. And so instead of stepping in, we talked about Tiger Woods' dad. We didn't talk about him, but we talked about Shaq's, stepfather. I mean, they instilled in him some principles to keep them on track. But when you're making that kind of money and you don't realize how much you're hurting your son by actually trying to be his friend, try to be part of the posse, you have to make certain that they know that you're the father. That and it sounds, I didn't grow up with my dad, so I
Oh, I
tried
grew
to
with
do
mine.
everything I could to. Donovan and I are best friends. We go watch shows together. We go to
I
car
can tell
together.
you all have a connection. I can tell that.
And so
I saw him in a picture behind you. I knew he was there with you. I saw him. I was like, yeah, I know he's there.
Yeah. And so
that's the way it should be.
Yeah. And we, and I think that's that family component. From the ministry side. I was raised by a mom and a grandmom, but there were some things that I didn't get as a young man that I had to learn. Fortunately, I was in the church, and there are men who actually took me under their wings and gave me. There are some things that only men can teach. I don't care how good that woman is. I don't care how. There are some things that only a man can teach. And one of the things I was talking to someone about marriage, and we were talking about their daughters having a difficult time finding a mate. And and I shared with him, I said, really and truly, the mate should be trying to find her.
True.
I said, we have it flipped.
You should say that one more time. You should say that.
I told him the mate should be trying to find her, not the other way around, because scripture says when a man findeth a wife, he findeth a good thing. And when we have flipped the switch and we have more people becoming the masculine female, and they're chasing the man, and it's unfortunate because it plays into sports, it plays into life, because they are the chaser. I have a daughter as well, and so this weekend, one of the great things about being able to go to the Dallas show, she lives in Louisville. She's a CPA, and she had some things to do, and I took a trip there to take care. She knows what a husband and a father looks like. I spent time. We have daddy-daughter. In fact, she's coming in Thursday. We're going to eat sushi together, and just hang out because she needs that time with dad, just like Donovan got that time with dad. And one of the things is that investment time that we put into our children, whether it's in sports cars, teaching them about the industry, or, Donovan taught me about Pokemon. I had no clue about Pokemon, but he knew it. And so guess what I did? I just sit down and listen.
That's right.
And that, I think that's what's wrong with Ja. Ja was raised in a regular middle-class family.
Oh, yeah.
And he feels as though his street cred is not strong enough. But let's be real, FD. If Ja was in Chicago, on the playground, or in New York, he would then meet some hard guys.
Oh yeah, a long time ago. Yeah. I just wish when I think of Ja Morant, or I think as many of people I can name, because I think he's just one of the latest example of something.
Yeah.
I just wish the best for him.
I do too.
He released a statement talking about his stress, and if you I do research every night on stuff. I'm just reading stuff and looking at car values and looking at sports and what's going on with people, and so they went in and they did. I found this very interesting. They went in and asked questions to the entertainers that were at the establishment that he was at. And they said that they say he was a very nice person, wasn't rude to them. There's some other athletes that come in that are quite rude, from the Denver Nuggets and the Denver Broncos. But he was actually quite nice. He went there 2 nights in a row. He bought out the place to have his own area, I think for like $50,000 or so. They said he talked openly to them about his stress and what he's under. People don't understand what he's under right now.
Right.
And I'm like we talked about earlier tonight. I'm not sitting here saying that these individuals are not stressed. Yeah, they're stressed. They want to do something. They want to be the best they can be, They understand that it's not easy to do. But I just hope that Ja is 23.
Yeah.
I just hope right now before we got on, there was a statement released that he's going to seek help and counseling for different things that he's going through. I personally don't think we're going to see Ja the rest of the season. That's just
and
me.
it would be unfortunate for the game.
Yeah, I really don't think so. It would shock me. We got 16 games left in the season. Most of these teams. It would just shock me if I saw him again or if I saw him in the playoffs. I think his personal what's going on with Ja has to be pushed up over Ja the basketball player, and he's got to be in a community and in surroundings where people are caring about that and not caring about how many points he's going to score. Memphis just blew out Dallas. Now Dallas didn't have Luka or Kyrie, but it's good to see a team. Desmond Bane and them showed up. It's good to see. And there's a comment here about Dallas playing better without Ja. Excuse me, Grizzlies playing Big John. Grizzlies played better without Ja last year. It doesn't shock me. A lot of times you watch the games, they're all standing around watching him.
Mm-hmm.
And now you got Jaren Jackson Jr., people actually doing stuff, asserting themselves. Desmond Bane's a very good player. He takes the back seat to Ja to allow Ja to do his thing. So I just hope that Ja is good. And for a young man to go out to an establishment and talk to people about his stress level tells me that he's very, very stressed. Mm-hmm. There's something going on that is on his mind and that he's thinking about. And we don't know. We sit here, we don't know if he had a firearm with him that he feel like he should. I remember when Paul Pierce was stabbed to almost dying. I remember when Nazi Muhammad had a situation at Nazi Muhammad was out of Chicago. I remember him having a situation outside of a club and people shooting. So I can remember certain situations that went down and people having different kind of issues. People getting robbed in their house. We know that Taylor plays safety for the Redskins. What happened to him? There are things that are happening out here that the general public can walk around and say, well, why is this happening? There's a reason why it's probably happening that we don't know about or no one is going to talk about. Mm-hmm. I noticed that when the Grizzlies players have their games and people ask them questions, people run up, well, what about playing without Ja? These gentlemen have very little to say about that. And to me, as they should, is care because they care about Ja probably as a person. Adams supposedly made a statement about when we go on the road, we need to conduct ourselves in a more professional manner. Everybody on the team kind of thought this was relating to Ja. The funny thing to me, Reverend, is that most interesting thing is Ja was at the establishment. No other teammates were with him. Yeah. It's odd to me. Like when we went places as a team, if you were my DB and I'm playing offensive line and we're tight like that, you don't make a move, bro. I'm with you. 2 will go out, 2 will come home.
Yes.
It's not like, hey, I see you. We get off the bus. See you later, dog. See you tomorrow at practice. No, that's not how this thing goes. So if other players weren't there, then I'm more blown away.
Right. And that's concerning because what people don't factor in is every one of those athletes are targets. Mm-hmm. They're targets because of their financial wherewithal.
That's right.
No ifs, ands, or buts. So they're targets by their friends. They're targets by their family. They're targets by the groupies. They're targets by organized crime. I mean, they're targets, and people don't realize that's enough to be under stress. One of the things people talk about, when the lottery was almost $1 billion, I should have won. I said, that sounds good. And, I'd love to have that kind of money. I could do anything. But it brings some additional stresses that you don't have.
More money, more problems.
Yeah. You have things that you don't deal with now. Now, I would love to have it so I could walk into a card show and just
wipe this place. Well, $52 give it to me. Jordan Rook, give it to me. I want 10 of those 10s. Give it to me.
Because I think that's the one thing people don't take into account, just life stresses. And for me, sports cards was kind of my release. So I think you asked about me getting into cards. So as a minister, as a pastor, that's on call 24/7. So if somebody calls, they're in the hospital, they have an issue, I get in my car and try to get to the hospital. People call under stress. My wife may come with me. And a lot of times you're hearing stuff that only you and the Lord know.
Yeah.
And so you know what these people are going with, but you can't divulge it. It's a confidentiality issue. Otherwise, you lose all respect and everything. But then I work in an industry in pharmaceutical sales that I'm stressed out because I'm dealing with doctors on a daily basis. I mean, there are issues that they deal with. And sometimes I become the minister on site when I go to the doctor's office. I've had situations where they've called me, asked me to talk to, pray for a patient. Then sometimes my coworkers are going through issues, so they're like, "Hey James, I need to talk to you about it." So you have all these things, so you need to be able to have something that you do that is totally disconnected from that. Yeah. So I play golf and I do sports cards because those things relax me. I walk, I think. Sports cards, I'm learning different things, meeting new people, and a lot of people don't have hobbies.
They don't.
If you look at and this is the sad part about our community is you and I look at sports cards as a hobby.
Yes.
We just happen to be able, some cards go up in value.
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of people just look at it from the monetary side.
Yes.
And so when you have a situation that just recently happened, that the market crashed, and people say, well, it didn't crash. Oh yeah, it did. I mean, when you have a Luka that was going for $2K and now you're getting 300, it crashed.
Oh yeah.
And so you have people who got in when it was 4 figures, and now they see their card value have gone down 75%. They can't really afford to sell it, but they also know that they have to keep moving in order to make money. And it's a lot of people are gambling with rent money.
Yes. Bill money, kid tuition money, a whole bunch of stuff.
And that's stressful.
Retirement savings. Oh yeah.
Yeah. And if you and that's why I use flipping to help my collection, because it builds up my bank so I can grade my cards. I do grade to consignment, whatever that percentage is, it pays for my grading, and then I have whatever that chunk is left so I can buy. If I want to buy something, I just put it in the bank. I just sent off 50 cards to my grading to the consignment person, and all 50 will be for consignment. So when they come back from grading, I'll just hit one button and it'll say consign all of them. They'll run on auction, and whatever it happens, they take out the fees. And guess what? I'll bill it up. I have some other cards I want to send. I just send them in. And it's just a way for me to move inventory without me having to take pictures and it's a lot of extra work that I don't have to do. Oh, yeah. And like we talked, it's part of doing business.
Yeah, and that's what makes it fun. Collect Your Cards says, what's good, FT? What's good, Rev? Good to have you here. Dave G, your man, it's a pick from my first deal at my first national in AC last summer when I made a deal for my Grail Giannis patch auto 15. That's a great picture, man. Giannis, great card. Tom, Houston stole their draft pick backup Case Keenum. He was a good backup briefly for my Bills. I always thought the NFL, I wish Case Keenum would have got more love.
Yeah.
You have these quarterbacks who are good players, undersized, but they're not top draft picks. They're up next to be replaced. That's why everybody got so hyped about Brock Purdy. It's like, that's not going to last, people. You're not going to see that guy running around for long. He's still Mr. Irrelevant.
See, FD, that's what people don't do. I mean, there are some players. Purdy is a great example. I'll use that. He didn't have a whole bunch of cards out when he took off. And most of the stuff that he had were either college cards or he was in practice uniforms.
Mhm.
That was the opportunity for people to say, okay, I need to get these flipped
That's
and
right.
move on to something more
Right now.
stable. Because what they figured out, oh, he's going to be the guy. No, he's not.
No, he's not.
He's not going to be the guy. They have too much invested in Trey Lance.
And what's interesting is now that he's had elbow surgery, well, he's going to be out for a long time. It's like Tommy John. People are still saying, oh, he's going to be the starter. I hear people, I'm like, what are you talking about? No, do you know how the body works? This is not happening, people. But Trey Lance doesn't fit what they need as a quarterback from an ability standpoint with the receivers. You got Debo over here, and you got this guy running the ball.
Yeah.
So 49ers went out and brought in Sam Darnold.
I saw you mentioned that. I saw
he's
that.
He's going to be a backup, and they're going to get some other people. But don't believe the 49ers are not going to put themselves – they're not going to ever be in a quarterback situation again.
Yeah.
They're smarter than that upstairs. But anybody holding on to Purdy right now, just in my humble opinion, I don't know why.
There are two quarterbacks that basically I don't understand why people are so hyped. Purdy is one, and Kenny Pickett is the other. I mean,
I don't get Kenny Pickett. You know, you and I have talked about Pickett.
Yeah, we talked about that.
I don't get Pickett at all. I don't.
He's a placeholder. And again,
I always ask this question. How many franchises, I asked this question today on the live, went from a Ben Roethlisberger type to a great quarterback within a year or two? It doesn't happen, people.
Nope.
Those systems are trying to find out who's the guy. So they're just bringing people in. They're trying to find out who's the guy. Yep. It's like right now, Aaron Rodgers is leaving Green Bay. Everybody's talking about, man, Jordan Love. Okay. I mean, I could be wrong.
I have two Jordan Love fans, and I'm grading them, and I'm going to move them as soon as I
I mean, but to me, if you're talking about Jordan Love, it is time to grade and move. Now, you talked about that earlier. It's time right now to grade and move.
Yeah.
Because there will be a short window where you will see his prices go up. His prices have went up since 7:34 Pacific Standard Time yesterday.
Wow. Because Green Bay they have a fan base.
Oh, yeah.
Green Bay has
across the whole country.
Yes.
I know people that live all different kind of places are strong Green Bay fans. You go to a sports bar, there's a Green Bay, there are a section. There are people sitting there. Green Bay, the Raiders, oh, man, Pittsburgh Steelers, there are people no matter where you're at. There's a sports bar here that's all Chicago Bears.
Yeah. I have I pulled 3, and I got to find them now since now Rogers left. I have a ruby prism of Love. I have a Donruss silver that's out of 100, just the regular Donruss, and then I have a Rookies and Stars out of 10 that I pulled.
Oh, this is the time.
As soon as
what you just named, this is the time. I could give you some people I know that watch that would love to check out your cars, so they talk about Jordan Love all the time.
Yeah. I mean, it is, and you have to know. I think I'll take the Cowboys for instance. They really don't have a quarterback.
No, they don't. Dak Prescott is not the answer, people.
But they've given him so much money.
Yeah.
That they're forcing it. I mean, he makes boneheaded decisions. I mean, against 49ers, there is no way the 49ers should have beat the Cowboys. I just know. But
they're halfway decent quarterback. They won that game.
Yeah, I mean, and that has happened regularly. And so when you start thinking,
you got to think now. You went from Troy Aikman to Tony Romo to Dak Prescott. They haven't even had a lot of quarterbacks in that system.
You know, and you know, of course, Dallas Cowboys. I mean, you know, where I live, it's cowboy country, and so to not like the Cowboys is just crazy. But when it's said and done, when you start looking at you either a fan. I'm a fan of the Texans. I mean, we probably not going to win no time soon, but I'm a fan of the Texans. I still have gold refractor rookies of Matt Schaub. You know, so I still have his rookie cards, and you know, and so you know, and really the Texans probably should have gotten to the Super Bowl under Matt Schaub. If you remember, they were very dominant, and then he tried to do a quarterback sneak and broke his foot. And from that point on, he was just never the same.
Well, he was also never the same because the team didn't have a lot of money invested in Schaub.
Correct.
And he's easy to replace. And these are the things that the hobby does not even think about sometimes. That you can have a guy who may have talent. He can have serious talent. How much money has the team put into that guy? Where was he drafted at?
Mm-hmm.
And he wasn't drafted high. If he's a Purdy or someone who's drafted lower, I'm going to say this. Kenny Pickett, all depends on who they're going to bring in there. Kenny Pickett has 17 games to play around with.
Okay.
And then somebody's going to move on.
But the problem with Pickett, there's another parallel that people don't think about when they're thinking about quarterbacks. And the AFC is critical. NFC is different. But in the AFC, you probably have the top 5 quarterbacks.
Oh, yeah, right now. Yeah.
And so you're competing against. So the likelihood of you ever getting to a major game is not very good.
So,
I mean,
you might see some of these guys switching over and going to the NFC just to have a shot at getting there.
Hey, that's
because
what
right now Burrow knows I got to at least pass Mahomes.
Yeah.
I got to pass Herbert.
Did you see something? I think I saw something about there's a receiver that they say that I don't know if it's going to happen. Odell Beckham Jr. is talking about Kansas City.
Oh no, I wouldn't be surprised.
Because
that's the easy way to get a ring, man. I wouldn't be surprised.
Let's face it, though. If you're a receiver and you have talent, and you can go Kansas City, Big Red's going to make sure. I mean, he's going to put you in a position.
If they went out and got Juju,
yeah,
I mean, they go get anybody.
Yeah, and so I know they're talking about King Henry moving on, and
now he needs to get to a quarterback.
Yeah,
man. And everybody wants to leave Tannehill alone. Everybody's running away from that young man.
Well, people forget he was a tight end at Texas A&M.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and then he became quarterback. He's not. I mean, people say prototypical. No, he's just a big guy. There's no way they should have lost that year that they were the top seed. Any other quarterback wins that game as well. And I think what people fail to do, FD, they get suckered into the hype. And don't look at the body of work. It's kind of like when people were talking about Mahomes was done. He'll never win a Super Bowl. I'm like, guys, y'all, this kid has a lot of talent. And he said himself, he learned from the loss to Cincinnati. Mm-hmm. And he made up in his mind that was not going to happen again.
Yeah, Mahomes, he has a long road ahead of him. We'll see how it works out, what happens. It's already a successful story. He's already a Hall of Famer.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, there's really no questions about how much polish is he going to put on what he's doing. That's really what it's all about. And Monty said he's down to meet up. Like I said, I think y'all have a great conversation. I respect you both and how you think in a hobby. So that'll be cool. Hero 3, I'm a Saints fan and I don't want Carr. Really? That guy is,
who you gonna have?
You said he's fat drunk. Wow. He's good if it's flag football. Hero, let me ask you, you don't have a lot of options, Hero. They're not going to turn it over to what's number 7's name? The fullback / quarterback / it's not going to be him. Jameis is gone. Do you want Jameis Winston? Come on. You don't have a lot of options. So, again, Drew Brees, we're seeing that same cycle. We're bringing guys in to see what's up. Now we got a guy in. We're going to see what he's all about. To me, I think his personality and his just how he carries himself will do well in New Orleans. I think the fan base will attach themselves to him. And then, we'll see what happens next. I always talk about.
What do you think, FD, about Davante Adams? How do you think he feels about right now?
What do you mean? Like what with Davante Adams?
from the standpoint of, you had quarterback and Aaron Rodgers, then you go to Oakland. I mean, you Vegas, and you have Carr kind of, and now the quarterback situation is in flux. You really don't know who's going to be throwing the ball to you.
Well, I always thought Devontae Adams can sell. So to me, players do one or two things, right? He can sell the fact that I want to win. Devontae Adams got paid. Okay? He got that coin.
Yeah.
So he kind of sold his career to whatever's going to happen now.
Okay.
Because we got dollar bills. So Devontae Adams can come out in the general public. He's not going to say that I want to win and I'm competitive. Bro, I appreciate you, but you got paid. So whatever happens now is what happens.
Yeah.
I mean, he tried to sell it. We know Carr and I are boys. We've known each other since Fresno State. Okay, man, bro, you got paid.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I mean, I hope he gets a quarterback in that Garoppolo. I mean, I don't know how he feels like playing with Garoppolo, but one thing he can say is that Devontae puts together a few more years like he's been playing. He's a Hall of Famer.
Oh yeah, yeah.
He's going to be a Hall of Famer, and we'll just see if he puts a ring on his finger before he gets there. But I mean, we'll see. That's a great question. I haven't even thought about that really since Carr left. April says, or it may be Junior, they may win, but they lost against the Rams. The team I'm talking about is the Raiders. This is Junior. Junior's starting to get into teams. He has a pretty good memory.
Okay.
And he can remember players. He can remember. He came up to me on the weekend and said, "How many teams in the NBA have a ball in their mascot and then in their logo?" Then he started naming teams, and I was like, "No, they don't have a ball." And I looked it up. I was like, "Yeah, they do. How'd you know that?" He's like, "Oh, it was on TV." And he's down in the ticker. He's looking at all kind of stuff. So,
but I think that's the one thing, and one of the reasons why I moved over to hockey. I needed something that's going to challenge me. I don't know the game, but I wanted to learn, and so I began to do my own research, and then watching some of the guys who put out a lot of content on hockey, and then went researched and found out that the young guns are the currency pretty much in hockey. But next year, there will be more people in hockey than there is right now because of one player.
Yeah.
It's going to be crazy.
Yeah, I think you're going to start. People are going to be like, "Man, FD's in hockey." Yeah. Ask you one clarifying question. There will be more.
Yes.
Yeah, but I'm excited. Just so everybody knows right now, Golden State is up on Phoenix 43-26. 11 minutes left in the second. I mean, we know Kevin Durant is out. I think Book's playing tonight, right? Oh, let me check this out before I start talking about Book's resume.
I have a Book Silver Prism rookie. Mm-hmm. And I've been just like, man, I just got to get. I mean, I traded off some stuff to get it. I mean, you asked the question, what do I think KD's going to do in Phoenix? The exact same thing he did in OKC and the Nets.
Nothing. Yeah. Yeah, Booker's playing tonight. Booker had 11 minutes, has 8 points, 3 rebounds. Not happening. I think this team is going to see if they don't have KD on the court for spacing and a lot of them have a driving lane. Phoenix won't be around too long.
They wouldn't have beat Dallas the other day without KD.
No, not at all. I mean, he's a difference maker, man. You got a 7-footer that is shooting 50% from the field and 50% from the three. He's just a different guy. His lower extremities, though, might end up being an issue for him. Yeah. Tore in the Achilles, just sprained an ankle, doing nothing. It seemed like they tried to talk about water was on the floor. I wonder if water was really on the floor. It's like when I see the ball, bro,
that had his body type that doesn't get the credit that he deserves is Brandon Ingram.
I agree.
Yeah,
Brandon Ingram for me is like a shorter KD.
Yes, sir.
His jump shot, he's building his game. His jump shot is improving every year. I don't know. I just, people sleep on Ingram. I mean, I don't know. I like his game a lot. I think if he can get some help from Zion, you might see some more from, what are your thoughts on Zion?
You already know how I feel about Zion. So.
This is another young man. We talked about Ja, same draft. I just hope this guy is good. I see a young man who can't keep his weight under control. I just start like, what's up? This is your method of making money and having a career. And like, why can't you settle yourself down? Is there something else going on? I just wish him the best.
But I don't think a lot of these players, and I think that's the difference between this generation, and I'm seeing it more frequently. I don't think the younger generation of athletes look at what they're doing as a job.
I don't think they do. No, because they make some statements sometimes. It's like it's not a job.
Yeah, it's just what they do. It's like that's why the bad boys. I mean, when you start going back in time and start looking, they understood. You know, you say what you want about LeBron, he understands that he has to take care of his body. That Michael Jordan understood that. Kobe understood that. Tim Duncan understood. You know, imagine if Shaq had been as serious about his weight. Oh my goodness.
I think he would average probably 40 and 25.
Yes, sir. I mean, the things he did at the weight he did, if he had really gotten serious about weight management.
I always say, if he had kept that Orlando Magic Shaq all the way through that thing, man.
He impeded with
basketball. I always say, if Shaq would have cared about his weight, and if Allen Iverson would have stayed out of the club.
Yeah.
What could have happened in NBA history?
Yeah. You know, because
you can talk about Ja. Please go back and look at Allen Iverson and look at Derrick Rose.
D Rose was a bucket. I mean, D Rose once he got those knee injuries, it just changed his game. Because when he
was about his jump shot, everything was about getting off the ground.
Correct.
Leaping ability, his jump shot, everything was vertical. Now you take that away from the guy, he's on the bench with the Knicks.
Yep. Yep. You know, and there, I mean, there are very few players that actually you have to scheme for. If you look, there are very few players that you have to actually scheme for. Early in Michael Jordan's career, you did not have to scheme for Michael Jordan.
Mm-mm. And Mike was coming straight at you all the time, too.
Yeah, yeah.
He's going to dunk on you. He's going to do something. He was coming straight at you. This is before SportsCenter, just because he wanted to.
Mm-hmm.
Then when people say he didn't have a jump shot, okay, let me get a jump shot. Then people say, oh, he doesn't play defense. Okay, I'm defensive player of the year and I'm scoring title king same year. What you got to say now? Oh, you haven't won a title yet. It took Bird these many years and Magic these many years. Okay, let me roll off 3. What you got to say now? Just kept moving. And Monty says hockey is very, very underrated. It is. Tom says Kobe was hated on East Coast growing up. I know in Chicago we called him Jordan Jr. That's a fact. Look at Jordan Jr. Peeps, those upper deck E-packs, speckled rainbows are more scarce than people might understand.
Talk, my brother.
Yeah, is hockey in the USA or just Canada? No, it's not just in Canada. No, it's not just in Canada. Tom, I can't speak for East Coast. Ha ha ha! In my small town, an area Kobe was just like until after he won without Shaw. Would be more accurate. Are y'all connecting him with Brian Shaw?
Hey, when people talk about Canada and hockey, go back and look at history. I think it's since 1996, if I'm not mistaken, since a Canadian team actually won the Stanley Cup. So the American teams dominate in hockey.
Oh yeah. Peep says MJ and Gretzky might be the only 2 undisputed best ever. No, I think Serena Williams. There's a few others.
Tiger.
Tiger. I don't think anybody's saying someone better than Tiger Woods. Might be a few more. Joe, thanks for being here, Joe. Peeps, if you don't have Brady in the mix, I don't know what undisputed is. He said, then Peeps comes back fair enough. Brady too. Hector, God, I thought Baby Jordan was going to be the next star. I never thought that. His jump shot was broke, Hector. He had a broke jump shot. And he used to leave that thing in the air and still broke. Doesn't work like that, man. You can't imitate. You can't shave your head and Yeah, do more than that to be Mike Jordan, man. Come on.
Did you see the All-Star game?
Let's see who.
Minor. Minor was at the All-Star game. I think he was. I want to say he was either doing the dunk contest or something.
He did the dunk contest.
Yeah.
Didn't win that. Hermione was some hype, but it's all good. Zuckerman 182. Timmy D is my PC. He was such a great player. Love the Timmy talk. Yeah, I mean, you got to give respect to Tim Duncan.
And you will not find an autograph for Tim Duncan below $1,000.
Yeah, very hard. He didn't sign much. It'd be interesting though when Fanatics starts doing that thing where they bring back people like that, where you see more Tim Duncan stuff. Tim Duncan with a real patch of his jersey from some game. That'd be crazy. And don't let that game be a playoff game. That'd be crazy. Hero 3, I'd love to talk about father figures. We need more men and less soy. People say soy, but the Reverend and I are talking about men who are responsible for themselves and loved ones around them. And I mean, that's what I got taught. That's what it's all about. And I believe a lot of stuff, we talked about it earlier, is a learned behavior. I saw someone every day. Reverend was around men who taught him. My father didn't have a father. I've told Reverend this before. He had a grandfather that was his father.
Mm-hmm.
He saw that. I can't tell you. And my great grandfather died at the age of 53, and so my father was with him. He was in the house and fell out and had a massive heart attack. My father was with him, holding him when he was on the floor. And my father was real young, so in a brief amount of time, he picked up a lot of things about life from a man that affected him the rest of his life.
Right.
And he still called him his father. So those are the things we're talking about. We're talking about some different principles than what some other people may believe in, but it's about, like, when I take Junior out and we go to a show, the first show I went to with my father, and every show after that for years I went to with him. We don't, I mean, I say it in the episode, but we don't walk into a show or Burbank or anything together. I don't go anywhere with G, and I don't think about being with my dad. That's how I came into the hobby. That's how I started learning stuff. That's how I learned about autographs and athletes that were achieving things way before I was born, was through him. Mm-hmm. He talked to me about stuff, about Jim Brown and Walter Payton. And Walter Payton's rookie year was 75. That's when I was born. So by the time I really started noticing who Walter Payton was, he was about to end his career. You know what I'm saying? When they didn't give him the ball for the touchdown in the Super Bowl, Walter Payton was about done.
Yeah.
Yeah, ran so hard. So I mean, those are the things that I think about when I think about the hobby. I almost traded LaMelo Ball cards for jock cards. Woo! It don't matter. I'm gonna tell you this. This is just me personally, and I'm not trying to hate on anybody. I don't think LaMelo Ball is gonna have a long career. I just don't think so. And it was before he fractured his ankle in just doing a crossover move. I just don't think so. I think he's probably going to have some of the same ailments that Lonzo has. That's just my thoughts. He could come back and do I know some people who say they think he's going to be the face of the NBA. I just don't think so.
Do you remember Run TMC from back in the day?
They all got together and commentated a game.
Really?
Yeah, they commentated an NBA game. I don't know if it was last season or this season. They all had a reunion and got back together. I think maybe it was around when Tim was going to the Hall of Fame.
Well, that crossover was just...
Tim grew up literally like 5 minutes away from where I grew up.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah, we grew up, man. Tim Duncan and Kirby Puckett was all people were talking about.
Wow.
Both from the same part of Chicago, within minutes of each other is where they grew up. Yeah, Tim Hardaway is a legend on South Side Chicago.
Wow.
A legend. Especially when I was coming through. You started talking about Tim Hardaway, Carver High School, and then going to UTEP. Yeah, his crossover was fierce. I still don't understand how young people today let stress or anxiety define them. Older generations have some issues. I think I understand it. We talk about that around here. We have a lot of young people here. I think it's about me personally. interactions with other people, and what are you talking about and experiencing? We have a situation now where you could be young and be on social media and really be isolated from other people. You don't have a lot of interactions.
Right.
And then you know, like, so I go to a health food store here, and we talk about the people there know me, and I come in often, and we talk about different things. And they were talking about people under 20 that work there. The average customer comes in and has a question about something. The person is like, they're frozen. The person doesn't like something, or they have a complaint. The person is frozen. They've never interacted with an individual like that. And someone else can step up and hear the objection, hear the complaint, solve that, talk the person through. If it's a discount, whatever it may be, the person is kind of like, they don't know what to do with that. I think a lot of that has to do with it. It's about you're putting someone in an interaction state that is not used to that. Reverend and I played sports growing up. We're around teams. That's nothing but interaction. You got to, from the time I was real young, you got to overcome your weaknesses to make this whole group better. I mean, that's all interaction. When I first started playing ball, I had never really ran before. Coach told us, run down to that gate and come back. I went down there real fast, came back. I was like 15, came back. I'm breathing. He's like, okay, go down to that gate and come back. I'm the last person back now. And I went home like, man, I don't know if I can do all this running. I had really never done any running. That was really nothing compared to that when I got to college and I had a coach that ran you in 100-degree heat. But my perspective, I had never ran before. So anything I was doing was a lot to me. And I think that's part of it. I'm not saying that's the only thing, because there are other things that lead to what Hector is talking about, or stress and anxiety kind of overwhelming a person. But that has something to do with it. This is why I try to get Junior out, try to get G out, to have more interactions with people. I've even taken them, if we go places that have nothing to do with a card show, just because they need to have that interaction. And I call it life experiences. I talk about this all the time here. Our people, young, old, and in between, need to have life experiences.
You know, that's one of the things that, you know, my son got married last year, and one of the things his wife didn't grow up with her father, and so she didn't really have a lot of the life experience, meaning going places. And so when they were dating, we would just she would come with us because we wanted her to see the family that we were. And we're still close. And so I call her daughter. She's just part of my, you know, my crew. And one of the things that is appreciated is that we have to learn how to get into the lives of these younger people. You know, cards are a way of bringing people together from different generations, and possibly bond. I share a lot of information because I want people to have a love for the hobby. I don't want them to just look at it from a financial standpoint. I will talk to you about the financials, but I want you to understand what this hobby is all about. I want you to understand what you're getting into. If you're going to do this, I want you to understand how to research people, how to learn about the sport. Because what wound up happening to me, and I kid you not, I watch more hockey than I do basketball now.
I know you do. Because I'll be talking to you about basketball, and you'll start telling me something about hockey.
Yeah,
and I think that's the way. Yeah, that's the way we roll.
You know, and when you do that, they begin to follow. I had a friend. He's up in Ohio, and he's totally baseball. But I didn't hook up with him. But he was at the Dallas Card Show. He sent me an IG message. He bought his first hockey card.
There you go. And you're gonna have me on that road very soon. Yeah.
You know, and it's the excitement because the card he bought. If you're going to, he bought a Jason Robinson Ultimate Rookie patch auto with a part of the star on. So he actually bought an investment piece. You know, he didn't just buy any card. He bought one and I was like, yeah, you did. He told me how much you paid for. He paid. I was like, yeah, you did real good.
Yeah. And to me, that's what it's all about. But also, Reverend, you and I are humble enough to know what we don't know.
Correct.
You don't start talking to me about hockey, and I'm gonna tell you about hockey. So I listen, I learn, I ask you some questions. I'm listening, I'm reading. I'm like, okay, I do a little independent research. Okay, and that's how we roll. Like each night, just about, and it's fun to me. Sometimes I have to break off and make sure I go to sleep, but I'm up researching something. I'm looking at something. I'll watch post game interviews. I'm analyzing what this player is saying and how they're saying it. Is it real or not? Is this person genuine? What is the coach saying? Is the coach giving us the real or not? Like I was telling a friend that Golden State was going to trade Wiseman about a month before.
Okay.
I'm like, they're going to trade this cat. He's like, no, I don't think so. He's the future. No. Not the way he's rolling in this rotation, not the minutes that he's getting, not the way Kerr is answering questions.
Right.
And so 2 weeks before he got traded, a week and a half or so, they asked Kerr about is Wiseman going to – no, about a week before. That's the trade deadline. If Wiseman's going to be traded, and Kerr said, well, that's Bob Myers and his team. I don't have anything to do with that. At that point, Wiseman's gone, bro.
Yeah, he's gone.
He's out of there. He's got someplace else to go play. Didn't know it was going to be Detroit.
Yeah.
But he definitely – so that's the kind of stuff I look for. And then I look at players to see how they play. I look at the stat sheet. We just talked about some stats in the Detroit game. But later I'm going to look at how was every point scored. How did someone get every rebound? If you're DeAndre Jordan and Chris Paul is just dumping you the ball, your points are one way. Do you have a fadeaway jumper? Are you working in the post? Are you up and under move? That tells me something totally different about where you are in your development than if somebody just gave you the ball. Because DeAndre Jordan has been separated from a point guard that gave him points, and now look at DeAndre Jordan. So that's the kind of stuff that I'm looking at all the time. And what I love about, and I say this to my girlfriend April, and she's like, well, people really don't know. I put work in every day to understand, what do I think I'm doing? And that's the key phrase. What do I think I'm doing? Because I don't know everything, but I'm pretty sure the person that's in the keys in the comments, I put more work in it than them today to understand
let me also share something. I meant to tell you this because I told you this, and it's a good time. I told you I was trying to move some Jason Robertson stuff, and I came up on a guy who wanted something, but he was kind of hesitant, and he consulted someone who knew nothing about hockey, and that influenced him. And I think that's one of the things that dealers have to be careful of. If you don't really know the sport, you need to be careful what you have in your case. Because when I come to your case and I see hockey, I have the mindset you understand hockey.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not talking about having one or two cards. A lot of people have that. But when you have a showcase that pretty much the whole showcase is hockey, I'm under the understanding that you really understand this sport.
I agree.
Yeah. And sometimes, and I just walked away because I'm not going to argue with you about comps when you have a pop one card and you got somebody who doesn't really understand how this market works. And I think that probably frustrated me because I'm one of those type guys. If we start working something and you waiting on you trying to figure it out, I'll kind of hold up talking to anybody else about my cards.
Oh, I'll do that too.
You know, I'll just hold up.
I'm vested in this conversation. Yeah, I want to see what's going on here. Yeah.
Yeah. And so, you know, then you waste an hour or so because you're waiting, you're moving around. I'm more than sure I could have probably moved the cards, but I wasn't. It's okay because the Dallas Stars are going to be in the playoffs and Jason Robinson is going to be one of the keys. I could put that on eBay and go with the auction. So I don't. Some people go to shows and they have to sell.
Yeah.
I go to shows I want to sell, but I don't have to sell.
Well, that's because you've already set yourself over the strategy where you purchase something that is different.
Correct.
And of a player who is performing.
Correct. That's like those 3 PMGs. I can't wait to get them back so I can.
I can't wait to see the grades.
The 3. This is one of the crazy things, and I know we're going to be getting off. Is that I bought 1 PMG. I had 2 of them, and there was one on ComC, I was looking at it, and I turned, and they had the back and front, and I immediately hit buy it now. The reason I hit buy it now is because on the card, he has jersey number 18.
Okay.
But on the number on the back, he wears jersey 91, and it was 91 out of 100. Those types of things, when you know the player and you've been researching, people don't realize jersey numbers they have a premium on them.
Oh, they do.
You know, and so I think, and it was one of those, the reason I buy from Con C is because typically what you see on Com C for hockey comes straight from Upper Deck. It never hit a pack. It basically went straight from Upper Deck to Com C. So usually the quality is better. I heard somebody talking about the Speckle. There's the Silver Fall. Those cards are e-pack exclusive. You can't open a pack of cards to get them. And that's why they're so expensive and they're very rare. But Upper Deck doesn't do a good job of talking about the e-pack exclusives. So you have to kind of educate people about what it is. And, you know, it's okay because it gives me a chance to talk about hockey.
That's right. That's right. We got Fitted JD say my man, it's good to have you here. Imani says he wanted to get with you on the golf course one day.
Yeah, I love playing golf. I probably post a few things here.
I want
and
to
there.
send you all each other's Instagram just so you have it.
Cool.
So that y'all can hook up. I'm telling you, I'm not wrong. Usually my gut doesn't lie when it comes to putting people together. Christopher King, Javon Hargrove too. 49ers getting stronger on that defensive front. Go Niners. I told Mr. Thomas today, who's a huge 49ers fan, you can get stronger. You got to get a QB. And I think you'll be in the Super Bowl. The Warriors are putting on a clinic right now, up by 18. They are. I keep peeping over. It's good to see Book get checked every once in a while. You know, I know he looked like he was hyped. He's like, man, KD's here. It ain't gonna work out it doesn't work out like that, people. Nothing is that easy. You don't sign a guy on sign day and then you go on trade that deadline and then you go win a championship. Come on, people. It doesn't. I know we can get hyped, we can get the buzz going. These people will be sitting at home watching the finals with a remote in their hand. Feed the guys, Mahomes and I are only a couple of months apart. I really want to grow up with a quarterback I can honestly get behind. Both of his performance so far and his personality was too young to enjoy Kobe. I respect that.
Yeah.
I respect it. Like I grew up with about the same age as Brady. We were in college at the same time. I can respect that. Randy Moss, people like that. I can respect that. I played Marshall. No, we played Western Illinois one week. The next week, Western Illinois played Marshall and got destroyed. I think Randy Moss had like 4 touchdowns. All the guys that was talking on the field with us, I was like, wait till next week, bro. This dude's going to destroy y'all. Feed the guys. Hey, Reverend, there's a hockey set called the Cup. It's equivalent to the Nationals Treasure. For the high end, definitely worth following.
However, the Cup has one thing going against it, and that is the biggest player in the Cup this year, Kirill Kaprizov, does not sign for Upper Deck anymore, and so all of his autos are sticker autographs. That hurts him, but the Cup is the top product for hockey, but he is the player that really drives the Cup this year. But if you're going to have the best rookie card, so what I'm doing, this is what I'm doing. So he has a card called Class of 21. And it's just a base card. It's one of the inserts. And I have a friend in Minnesota, and Kirill does some private signings. So I'm going to I already have bought one. I'm going to send it up there and have him sign it so that it'll be in my collection. I'll have a Cup card.
There you go. That's the way to go. Leverage your relationships that you have. I mean, people don't really talk about that a lot, but there's a lot that can get done. Hero, push the thumb. Push the thumb. I appreciate you, Hero. Hero's always here. Reverend is always here. I don't have so many lives of my people not on, and I appreciate you all. A lot of this is even having the Reverend on is why we started Rolling with FD and started the channel to get a perspective of people who are out here in the hobby and who have been in the hobby for a long time, who nobody's been tapping them on the shoulder and say, hey, what do you think? That's what we're going to do. Feed the Guys, I remember that little. Hey, FD, I honestly will put Bill Russell. I saw this over MJ. I welcome all the smoke. I appreciate that. Feed the Guys. You know I do. You know how I get down. But no one is really going to sway me on Mike Jordan. You're not going to sway me. I'm like a pit bull on the leg on that. You're not going to move me off Mike Jordan. I've seen too much. Even get average games of the season, seen too much. But I can appreciate. I got nothing but love for Bill Russell. I got a Bill Russell autographed jersey that I had Kobe sign. I have nothing but love. I admire Bill Russell, what he went through as the first African American coach in the NBA, playing in Boston, what he represented, how he represented his community service, being a pallbearer for MLK. I could go on and on and on about Bill Russell. So I have nothing but respect for him. He's high on my list. Jeff McMahon, 1993 Montreal. We got some hockey stuff coming through here. Last Canadian Stanley Cup was in 1993.
Everybody else from America.
Man, now. George D. Montreal has won a ton of the cups since 1917. 80s was all Edmonton and Calgary. Then Habs again, early 90s. Now American team carried them bags.
Well, I think the thing about hockey that is going to be interesting, Bedard's going to even show this even more. These young guys, they're so talented. I mean, and the rules have changed where the game has gotten faster and the players just are so, I mean, I watch some of these games. I'm like, how did they get that puck past that goalie? I mean, they are that good. And so you start having all this speed. What Connor McDavid is doing this year is just unbelievable. Mm-hmm. But what most people don't realize, as good as Connor McDavid's season is, that was a year that Gretzky had 212 points. I mean, he has records that will never be broken.
Yeah. I don't have Bill in my top three centers. Hakeem, Shaq, Robinson, Duncan. Oh, you put Duncan out as a center? All right. I can appreciate that hero thing. We went to a car show. Junior watched the World Cup. So he typed, let's talk about the World Cup.
World Cup, Messi, Ronaldo. That's it. Yeah. Mbappe. That's all I know.
Sure. Junior's into the conversation. He'll come in here sometimes. He'll come in the room and start talking to me. And then he tries to start like he's on the show. Like I told him one day we gotta do a show. I gotta do a show with him. He starts talking about sports and debating a little bit about who he thinks is the GOAT. And I like that on him. George D. Edmonton, I've been getting close with that Freak McDavid. Yeah, the UTEP two-step. Most people don't know about UTEP. But Tim Hardaway, different breed. His son, since Kyrie showed up, is shooting over 50% from the three.
Yeah.
That's the change that I talk about between Luka and Kyrie. Kyrie also throws passes, if you pay close attention to him, where you want to shoot. Where you want to shoot the ball, it hits you. Where you want to shoot.
He's a point guard. He's a point guard.
He really is. Who can also score the ball. George C. Word. Hope Yaz having a good night, gents. Good chat as usual, FD. George, you know I appreciate you all the time. Thank you for being here. 1993. What was I telling? I think I told Junior I graduated from high school in 93. I think that's what he's referring to. Great conversation. Big John, always good to have you here. Chicago's very own. Reverend, what is your take on Owen Power?
I actually like Owen Power. In fact, I have a Canvas PSA 10. I think they have a strong team. They have a young team. He is one of the players that I had picked up of young guns and tried to grade, and every one of them I graded got an 8. Again, UD1 has terrible quality control, and if you're doing it to grade, I would go EPAC Spectrums.
All right. Bill Russell died in 2020. Kobe died. Excuse me, 2022. Kobe died in 2020. True. Very true. It's always interesting too, that conversation they had during the All-Star game where Kobe comes over and sits down and starts talking to Bill Russell. Life is, it's an interesting thing. You can look at a picture of an older guy talking to a young guy who's still in a uniform, and you think one is going to really outlive the other. You don't know how life is going to go. Each day is precious. But I could see in Kobe that he admired Bill Russell for what he represented and was listening to him when Bill's talking. You don't see Kobe talking over Bill. He's listening. Peeps, not World Cup, but Erling Haaland, right?
Yeah,
is about to break the season goal record in his first season in the Premier League. Now, I know him from soccer, but what do you have to say about that, Reverend?
Yeah, I know him as well. I pulled a big card, a Renaissance. It came back at 10. I moved it. I don't know the sport, and I knew I could.
I don't know it as much to what to hold on to, what to do.
And so I mean, but if you go and talk to the soccer guys, his name is going to come up every time.
Name is coming up. Reverend, it's always great to have you here. I got to have you on more often.
Hey man, anytime you need me to come on, I'm pretty much a solo runner. I mean, as far as I come to the house, wife goes and does her thing, and she said, "Oh yeah, you're gonna be on tonight. Y'all have fun."
I come in after work. I get up in here, and it's usually me watching sports and spending time with some people. And then when folks go to bed, when Junior goes to bed and stuff, I start doing a little research on stuff, looking around. Pretty much all I do.
Nah, man, but it's great to have met you first and foremost, and look forward.
I feel the same way. We're gonna have to. I really appreciate meeting since we started rolling with FD. You are one of those people for sure. I remember one of the first messages we hit each other up with. For sure.
Hope you enjoyed the book.
Oh yeah. I always appreciate you, Reverend. We have great people. Don't know we talk probably every day. I was telling April the other day. I share messages with the Reverend every day. We're talking about different stuff and chatting about all different types of stuff in the sport, out of the sport. What do you think about a certain headline? What is this or that? I think it's like I said, man, I appreciate you. It's a good person to know in the hobby. It's good. That's why I wanted you on tonight to talk about Dallas, because you went there. It's good that you get your perspective. I was hitting you up while you were there, asking you some questions because I've never been. G and I would like to get there maybe the second half of the year. We wouldn't come without letting you know ahead of time.
Please do. I'll make sure to cut out that weekend and just spend it up there with you guys and with my daughter. That's the great thing. She'll make sure we go to a good restaurant.
Yeah, that's what I'm kind of looking forward to, because there's Camden is down there. There's a young man that's probably about 11 years old now that I've met that I like to meet him and his father Jason in person and talk to him. There's some people that we have connected with since we started the channel. All real folks. I think we try to be real as well, or who we really are. Let me say that. And I think it attracts people who want the same thing. That's what I like to do. We got Reverend Badar, Young Guns value when it drops 500, raw over under.
No if and 500 might be low when his Young Gun drops. I could see a PSA 10, his first one, being 2K. I could see that real easy.
Okay.
The question is going to be, this is the problem with Upper Deck. In 2020, 21, and 22, Upper Deck Series 1 has had poor quality control. In 2020, Upper Deck Series 1 had a gem rate of about 30%. In 21, it had a gem rate about 35%. And 2022, it seems to be about 35%. Series 2 had 65, 85. For some reason, they do something different in Series 2. So if Bedard's in Series 1, the likelihood is that's going to probably not be the best quality. I would recommend making sure, if you can, get a black. That is, they're basically hobby only, canvas black. If you look them up, they are very rare. I looked up Dawson Mercer, and there were, for every one black, there were 35 reds.
All right, I'm doing a little research right now.
The canvas blacks are very, very underrated, and they grade very well.
Okay. Nice looking card too.
Yeah.
For each player. All right. Part of that research.
Hey, you helped me understand who Wiseman was, so hey, I'm just returning it back.
All I can do, man, I tell people this all the time. I watched 2 out of the 3 games at Memphis, and I almost jumped out of my seat to see a guy so young and raw in what he could do. And I think the sky's the limit for him. I mean, we'll see, but he has to keep his head right. He's got to be able to work. I scrutinize Wiseman. I don't lay off on Wiseman. Like he needs to get he has to work. He's got to understand the game. When I compare him to some other people, I see some similar traits. I see some stuff that you don't know how it's going to go. I like Steph Curry when they asked, because at one point Steph had said Wiseman was a future MVP candidate.
Okay.
In his career. And then when he left in the post-game press conference, they asked Curry about Wiseman, and he said he's a player. He gave a totally different answer than Clay. Because when they were rehabbing, Clay and Wiseman, they rehabbed together.
Right.
They became very close. Clay would take Wise out on the boat. They would hang out, spend time with each other just one-on-one. When Wiseman left, Clay said, I think we let a great dude get out the door. He's going to be a phenomenal player in this league. Steph said, we don't know where his ceiling is. I think he has the potential to do some things. We have to see. You hear a difference there. And Clay is, from what I get, is more probably more emotional at times about certain things than Steph is. Steph can be a straight shooter. Steph and my birthday is a day apart.
Okay.
So there are some things I see him do that I pick up on how Steph is. Somebody could say about me that I can be very straightforward, very straight shooter. I try not to let emotions get in the way of a lot of things, but we all are human. You know what I'm saying? But I can relate sometimes to how Steph gets down. Like last year in the finals when he said, I hear everything. Reverend, that's not a comment I don't read from Rolling with FD.
Yeah.
That's not someone saying something about something dealing with sports that I don't really pay attention to. I kind of pick up on most things. I probably talk on very little of it. Don't really say too much about it, but I'm paying attention all the time.
Yeah. I think the thing is that there are those who come, whether it's what's the flavor, what's Rolling with FD, that come to try to learn. They're picking up on your guests as they come on and they're picking up on you. And it's helping a lot of the people in the hobby not make bad decisions when it comes down to sports cards, come down to Pokemon. And that's what it should be about. I mean, you should not be afraid to help people advance their collection or help them with knowledge. Now, I won't give you everything. I'll give you the information you need to start, but I want you to have some of the, hey, go, because remember when I told you, I said, you need to look up at the art.
I looked him up that night. Yeah.
Yeah. And people who look at that kid and what he did, I mean, it's hockey is different. The players, when you have hockey players coming up, and I think that's what's going on right now when you talk to about some of the when LeBron wanted Luka to be in his shoe, they see something that the regular person doesn't see. So hockey players know what greatness looks like.
Yeah. Very true. Amani, thanks for being here. Great show like always. Always appreciate you, man. You don't know how much. Well, it's another guy that I re-rap a lot about different things. Who you have winning the cup this year? What do you think, Reverend?
Stanley Cup. Man, I think the Bruins are probably head and shoulders better than any other team in the league. I could see them, and man, it's hard to go against the Avalanche. They have a great system, but I think the West is more open than the East. I think the Bruins and the Devils are probably going to be in the finals. That's who I think going to be in the finals on the Eastern side. And I mean, I want to pull for the Wild because they're my team, or I want to pull for the Stars because I follow them. But when the playoffs start, it's all about goaltending, and I think that's what gives Dallas a shot because Otter, they have a great goaltender, and the goalies are in the playoffs. Everything gets tight, so you have to have somebody in the net, and because if you go back and look at the history, a lot of teams won because of the goalies. I mean, Cujo and Thibodeau, and you start looking back at some of these hockey goalies, I mean, that are Hall of Famers that, I mean, you can't count out Tampa Bay because they have Vasilevsky in the net, and, you know, I follow them. I've probably purchased more hockey investment cards than any other sport this year.
Okay, cool. Hermione says, watch out for the Rangers. I'm just saying.
Well, it's going to be interesting to see what Lafreniere does because I think he has the skills, but I don't know if he's ready yet.
Hey, Angie, I want to make sure I don't want to skip you. Thanks for your comment here. And then Angie says, tell your buddy to take off that awful jersey, FD. Tell him to put on a Raiders jersey.
We are who we are.
You gotta rep, yeah. You gotta rep your teams, man. I mean, that's young ladies too. You out here, you have your team. I always ask people, so why you root for that team? When they tell me that story, okay, I get it. That's what it's all about. I love Golden State. I'll tell people this till the cows come home. I love Golden State. I grew up in Chicago. I'm a Bulls fan. I love Golden State because of the level of greatness and how they run the organization and the people that are on the team. And I've admired them for years. So it's not like make-believe land. It's going to be a long time.
One of the things that whoever said about Jersey, you know, it's not often that your team has a player who plays that actually has your last name. And so my last name is Webb. And so,
there you go.
I mean, I just wanted somebody said, "Oh, you had a jersey man." No, I got the jersey. Kids gave it to me for Christmas. So,
Feed the God says, "Hey, this is one of the last questions. Hey, Rev, I have to ask: Bobby Orr versus Wayne Gretzky."
Man, Gretzky is the greatest. I mean, but Bobby Orr, gosh, that guy is. I mean, you know, when we talk in sports cards, I mean, we know the Grail is a Gretzky, but Orr is way up there too.
Good knowledge. I need to spend more time with hockey sometimes than I do, and I know we all have what comes natural to us or what's been there. But it's good to listen to these conversations, and that's why I'd like to have different people on because you get to learn different things and understand different parts of the hobby that you may not spend time with.
You need to find somebody who's into Pokemon because that is a.
I know G spends time with it, but it's still some stuff that comes up. We're at a show where he's like, "Oh, I don't know that." Yeah. So yeah. Wayne clears Bobby Orr. So, Reverend, I appreciate you. Now, before we get out of here, I want to ask you a question because we got to add you to the intro.
All right. I'm Reverend, rolling with FD. Rolling with FD.
Thank you, bro. Thank you for being here. Tell your wife I said hello, your family, your son, your daughter. I can't wait to meet everybody. At some point, it will go down. Will happen.
Sounds good, my brother. Hey, you be blessed. Tell Miss April we said hello and thank her. Yeah. I'm thanking her for being a part of the journey with you.
Oh, she is. April does a lot of work. I'm going to tell people. So April, a lot of times, will suggest certain guests that we should have on this show. April's a big part of what we do. I mean, she's behind the scenes. She loves to be behind the scenes. I joke with her a lot about getting her in the episode. She's been in a few, but she is instrumental to what we do,
That's
how
great.
we get down. She knows the mission of why we started what we do. G does phenomenal work. This is everybody. You know, you may see me and you may see Junior running around and Robert every once in a while, but this is like everybody. This is a family thing.
That's good. That's good, my brother. That's good.
And blessings to you and your family as well, sir. I mean,
Hey,
it's always
blessings to you. God bless you. And everyone who's rolling with FD, hey, man, we appreciate everything you brought to the table tonight. May God bless you. Y'all be blessed tonight.
Thank you, brother.
All right. Bye.